106.1 KISS FM, K-Man's best variety, little Outcast and Hey Ya on a Friday morning. It is Blake and Aaron, and the time is 7:27 right now.
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you exclusively by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Hey, good morning, Blake and Aaron. Happy Friday.
Woohoo! What do you got for us?
I know. How are you guys doing? All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with a bit of interesting news. We have a new commanding officer for the Cayman Islands Regiment. So the governor's office has announced that after a competitive recruitment process, Colonel Roger Carter has been appointed to succeed Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson as the commanding officer of the Cayman Islands Regiment, and he's going to assume his position in April of this year. He comes with quite a bit of experience. He was born in Trinidad, Port of Spain, Trinidad, and he joined the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force in 1989. So that ought to be interesting. The police have, yesterday we were talking about this sexual harassment legislation that is finally, at least at the consultative stage. And it seems like, not a minute sooner, because the police are talking about 3 reports that they have received of sexual harassment in Georgetown. Oh, wow. So these are happening in the vicinity of Dr. Roy's Drive and Grackle Road around 7 p.m. when the complainants, 3 women, were walking home from work, and 2 of them were walking alone, and a third was with a female friend. And reports are that they were approached by a vehicle, and the driver of the vehicle, who was wearing a black hoodie, engaged them, proposing to pay the women a sum of money in exchange for sexual acts.
What? Say
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. So yes, there's been one that we have passed on to the RCIPS. I don't know if you guys saw that in the show, but a man is fronting a massage service that has exotic and sensual massages. That's what he calls it.
No, I heard you talking about that, and I was like, huh?
It's crazy.
And he's like, Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Come to Fairbanks. And I was like, wait, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
apparently the guy seems to be pretty serious, trying to book people.
Huh.
Yep. So those are some of your crazy news headlines today.
Last thing I look for when I'm looking for a masseuse is
Sandy.
those words.
I know.
Check out Sandy right now on Bobo 89.1 FM. Have a good week, and we'll see you Monday.
You too. All righty. Folks, I don't make it up. I'm just here to tell you what's going on. Good morning. Unbelievable, right? Yes.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
Good morning, beautiful people. How are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. Gorgeous day in the neighborhood. Why not? How is everyone? Everybody's good? Yeah, Friday. That Friday vibe, I feel like it's sneaking in. For me, Friday is like any other day. You get up and you go to work. Weekends are kind of like that too. Sundays, I try not to do a whole lot on a Sunday. I'm like, don't y'all even call me on a Sunday. Yes. You gotta take at least half a day for yourself where you feel like you can just veg out and do absolutely nothing. So what's going on in the beautiful Cayman Islands? We got a couple of things that we're going to be talking about today. We have CUC who will be joining us here shortly in studio, talking about the solar system, solar program, more appropriately called, because solar is back. There was a bit of a delay. We'll get them to explain all that good stuff to us. And then, we'll tell you guys all about the solar. I'm telling you, it's worth exploring. And it's one of those things that saves you money. From the very first bill that you get, you will see the savings. I have had an interesting solar journey. And yes, it's well worth it. Well worth the investment. I know y'all be like, oh, Sandy, I can't afford it. You must be rich. I'm like, nope. The bank is rich. The bank has all the money. And so y'all can find money for stuff when you're ready. I see y'all out there buying new fancy cars and all kind of stuff. I'm just saying, make the necessary sacrifice when it comes to, let me turn on my other light over here. Make the necessary sacrifice when it comes to actually saving yourself some money. That's all I'm saying. I see y'all out there flossing with your cars, and I got no problem with that. As long as you floss at them solar panels first. Because when summer rolls around again and y'all are complaining like, oh my God, Sandy, I can't take the stress. CUC trying to kill me. I'm like, did you get solar yet? No, but I got my new car though. I'm like, really? I'm suspicious, very, very suspicious. What do you mean you got a new car? Say what? Yep, that's what y'all be doing. Good morning to the beautiful Leanna. What happened, East End? When? Last night? Night before? Felicia, good morning to you. Good morning to the beautiful Miss Morna. How are you? Miss Iva, equally gorgeous, is also here. So there's been a little bit of activity over the last couple nights, and I don't know if the police are just out there practicing. Because, I'm sure there are times that they have to take the helicopter out and, go and, I don't know, flash the light somewhere, do night do night excursions so that they can get some practice how to find people in the jungles of the inner city in the Cayman Islands. But they were up last night, and I never heard anything specific about why they were up last night. But I do know that they started off in the west, the Gaza as we call it. And so they were all over West Bay. And then they moved from west to, it seems like Savannah, which I was like, okay, do they have both helicopters up or what's going on? So they were hovering over the lower valley, like Pedro, Savannah area for a little bit. I actually heard them in that area outside my window. I was like, what's going on? My husband jokingly said, are they here looking for you? I said, honey, child, they don't need no helicopter to come looking for me. As a matter of fact, all they have to do is call me. I ain't running. I'm not going anywhere. Just pick up the phone and call me. I tell them, don't come to my house. I'm insulted when they show up at my door, actually. I'm like, what are y'all doing here? Do not come to my house. This is my personal abode, and I don't appreciate the intrusion. Just call me. You know how to reach me. I'm going to just walk in and be like, Sandy versus the RCIPS round 55. When I'm 80 years old, I'm still going to be like, really, y'all? Come on now. Give me a break. But, I don't have I'm not one of those people who's going to be absconding anywhere. I'm like, yep, let's get it on. Let's go. So, no word on what was happening. I did hear that there were some armed units out last night as well, and that always makes us a little bit uncomfortable when we hear about these armed units, because, well, yeah, you don't normally just walk around with guns, right? I figure more people now involved in the armed units at the RCIPS than ever before. I guess they only have one financial, what's it called? Firearms Response Unit, FRU. They both have two units within the RCIPS have the exact same name. One is the Financial Reporting Unit, I think, is what they're called. And then the other one is the Firearm Response Unit. Yeah. So anyway, apparently they were out in the vicinity, I'm told, of the Ed Bush playfield. So, yeah, but never heard what was going on, who they were looking for. Didn't hear of any robberies or anything going on. So, we'll continue to keep our ears to the ground, honey. Chill. See what we can hear. The night before, was that the night before? The night before that? Oh gosh. Sometimes the dates running into each other. But there was there was something going on in East End. It was a bit of a mix-up story, to be honest, as oftentimes these things are. But there was a couple. Oh Lord, let me see if I can break this down for y'all. Because when I posted it, in social, y'all were like, huh? Say what? And I get these messages and sometimes they're a bit like disjointed in how they come across. And so this was one of those where it was like, it made sense, but at the same time, it was like pretty confusing. So, yeah. So this couple, apparently, no longer a couple. So his baby mama, so he's a child with this girl. They were fighting. So he went to, I guess, talk to her. I'm like, listen, some of y'all just need to leave your exes alone. Even when you have children with them, just deal with the children aspect of it. Pick up, drop off. When you have these toxic relationships, it's hard, but try to get someone to act as an intermediary as it relates to the children. So I guess he went to argue with her, talk to her, whatever. And it seems like he got a little bit out of hand. And so the current boyfriend was there. They got into it. He got into it with her. And there were threats or something made. There were allegations of all sorts of stuff. So, honey, chill. The police were in East End that night looking for him. And, people are like, listen, this is not the first time this guy has been involved in stuff. And you kind of get the sense that you should probably just leave this girl alone and sort yourself out. And she probably needs to do the exact same thing as well. Leave the ex alone and sort herself out. But of course, he was flexing on the current boyfriend saying, oh yeah, she still comes and sees me to get her fancy tickled or whatever we're going to call it these days. And so, just a hot mess. What can I say? So, of course, the helicopter was up for that as well. I feel like the helicopter is doing the most these days, making sure that we see their value and their worth. Look, we're here to help you find this hooligan in the neighborhood. Yes, honey, Jill. So, yep. So that was happening a couple nights ago. And now we're hearing about sexual harassment cases. So the police, it's actually, I know some of y'all believe that you can do this, and it gets under my skin, to be honest. But some of y'all believe that you can go around soliciting women for sex. You can't do that. Total strangers, mind you. Listen, if you are that desperate, like you can't do it the normal way, then I'm going to suggest to you, go to church. You can find the most eligible bachelors in church. It's true. I've proven this theory on more than one occasion. That's where they're all at, honey child. Some are reformed, some are working on themselves, not so much reformed. And so what you'll find, though, is you got lots of options in church. Some are going to be one-day Christians. Some can make it to 5 days, and some can do all 7. Morning, Miss Olivia. Elizabeth, John is here. And so you got lots of options in church, but you can't just walk up to total strangers, roll down your window with a black hoodie on, and talk about, I'm going to pay you $25 for rolling in the sheets with me or whatever. That's completely against the law. And any woman who's ever had that happen to her will know how uncomfortable it makes you feel, because you kind of feel like this person's a nut and that they could very well just grab you off the streets, because they have that type of audacity about them. So, sorry, I must tell you, unless this woman is a professional prostitute, most women do not take kindly to being propositioned in such a way. So, oh, my goodness, sorry. 3 separate women. And it sounds like it's the same person based on the description that the RCIPS has given. All in the same area. Now, where is, I know where Dr. Roy's Drive is, but where is Grackle Road? Where's Grackle? I don't know where that is. I'm going to look that up on Google Maps. Grackle Road. Hold on. So 3 women walking home from work, 7 p.m. So it's not like it's super late. Each case, the women were approached by a vehicle. It would have been nice to have had a description of the vehicle. But nonetheless, this guy rolls down the window, making a proposition to them of a sexual nature, money in exchange for a sexual act. Black hoodie. So pretty crazy, I would say. If this happens to you, so Grackle Road is Grackle. Where the heck is it? It's obviously in central town somewhere. So we've got North Sound Road. Where is Grackle Road? What do I say? I still don't really see where it is. Oh, so it is Eastern Avenue, Godfrey Nixon Way. Yes. Grackle Road is between Eastern Avenue and Godfrey Nixon Way. So it's like you're going down Godfrey Nixon. Is that Swamp? Is that what we would normally call Swamp? It's before you get to it goes down to Glenwood Drive, Heather Lane, and there's Kirkholme Center. So Kirkholme Center, that's Eastern Avenue, yes. So it's Godfrey Nixon is off of Eastern Avenue. Okay, wait a minute. Godfrey Nixon, yes. I know where that is. I think that's the first turn right there. You turn on Eastern Avenue, and that's that first turn, like across from the gas station. That's Swamp, right? Is that not what we call Swamp, y'all? What a hot mess. Miss Sue said the helicopter woke my family, nearly landed in the backyard of my house. Oh my goodness. Que pasa, peeps, says Jonathan. Look at how he spells que pasa. Miss Sue thinks that the police need to explain what they're up to. I don't know about that, honey child. Hi, Perla. So Miss Morna says, yes, that is swamp area. Okay. Yes, I know where it is now. It's that street, the first street after you turn off of Eastern Avenue. Right across from the gas station, actually. Aliano agrees that the churches have the biggest 304. I don't know what 304 means, but hopefully that means available single women and option, single men and women. Some of them aren't even single and they're still willing to engage in some sort of an entanglement. Good morning to Miss Nancy. How are you? Aliana says, Miss Sandra, it goes to the mindset of society where hypersexualization in all aspects is too common. Hi, Toby. Yeah, you know what? Listen, I will never stand up here and preach to y'all about don't be sexual creatures, because let me be very honest, that's just who you are. That's how you were made. I'm not going to debate about how it happened and the image of who and what poor Eve supposedly did with the apple and blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting into any of that. I just know what the current position is, right? Most healthy adults are sexual creatures, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's good for you. It's healthy, but you just need to, he says to put 304 in a calculator and read it backwards. Oh Lord, where the heck do you think I'm going to get a calculator from? The one on the computer? So yeah, so I think that, you just have to be sensible about things. There are lots of willing participants. Like I'm saying, you can find them everywhere. Jonathan told me he was going to say, go to church, go to the strip club. No, church will give you better options. Actually, the strip club, you're limiting yourself to, what kind of potential woman you're going to get. And she's going to have a particular reputation already. You go to church and you can, like I said, you can have options, right? So you can have the lady who's always been a Christian and he only has been touched by the Holy Ghost and no man walking this earth. And then, you're going to have to put a ring on it. You have to marry her to get somewhere. You get the reformed, sinner. Shoot, you'll even find sex addicts in church, child, because they're trying to pray it away. So y'all can go out there and fornicate all you want. That's not my business. I don't care about it. What I care about is when you sexually harass people, you rape people, you sexually assault people. That is crossing the line. Speaking of which, I must say that I'm so disappointed. Good morning, Alejandro. I'm so disappointed in a recent article that I read. Somebody sent it to me yesterday. Now, you guys know that by and large, I don't really read other publications. Not because I'm trying to be shady in any way, but sometimes, especially if it's a story that you are going to be writing on, if you read something else, you really run the risk of what they have written impacting what you write, if that makes any sense, because it kind of gets in your head. And you might even plagiarize a little bit. So you've got to be very careful when you read other stuff. So I tend to not read. Sometimes people send me stuff and they'll be like, oh, like, especially with the Compass, because y'all don't want to pay for the Compass. And they'll say, hey, Sandy, what's this article about? And I say, well, based on the headline, it's either a story that we have in queue or that we're working on, and we're going to get there. So, I'll do it that way. So yesterday, someone sent me an article from Loop. Now, I know most of you probably don't really read Loop. Alric I don't know exactly what his position is over at Loop, but he is, for all intents and purposes, become the country manager for Loop. He's I think, writing the vast majority of the local content for Loop. This is Alric Lindsay. And so I was really quite surprised. Now, Alric, I think Alric has some beef with certain members of this government, and it's pretty obvious from his writing. And there are other members of this government that he obviously is really in bed with, and he only writes glowing stuff about them. And he really likes them, and they give him the scoop on certain stories. And you know what? That's just how it is. I'm like, whatever, don't care. But there's sometimes that I see certain things being written that it makes me raise an eyebrow. And so one of those was what somebody sent me yesterday. There was this article apparently. I'm going to tell y'all what the title was, because even the title was problematic. The title was actually the biggest problem. So it's about this whole DJ Renato rape case, right? And let me go to Luke K-Man. And so the headline basically says that DJ sentenced for raping woman says he is the victim. And I did read this article because, of course, we covered it weeks ago. This is pretty old news, to be honest. I'm not sure why it's relevant now. He was sentenced, what, 3-4 weeks ago already? And so I was like, oh, is this something new? I'm thinking now, based on this headline, that Alric has actually done an interview with him. Like, he's gone to the jailhouse, sat down with Renato and done an interview. And in fact, what this article is he looked at the court documents and basically wrote this story. And in principle, there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, sometimes that's what we have to do. Like, I can't make it to court. I can't be in a million places at one time. But I think that where I have an issue with this is that this is really, really dangerous. You remember the rape culture that I was talking about? Somebody says I'm dropping in and out on Facebook. Anybody else experiencing that? Let me know. Otherwise, it might just be your connection. I haven't heard any other complaints. So you guys let me know if there's some sort of connectivity issue. I'm on Logic this morning. I always have. Probably just you, which means your internet might be the problem. Nope. Siobhan says Facebook is good for her. So check your connection, my dear. Somebody laughing about me saying, yep, I got Flow on the one hand, Logic on the next, ready to listen. I got to do what I got to do around here. All right. So this concept that, oh, somebody said the radio went off. What? Oh my God. The radio, it sure did. Let me connect back in. That means that my internet may have actually dropped, to be honest. Hey, Chuck. What the fuck? I mean, hello, Friday. Happy Friday. So somebody else said you cut out on the radio just now. That means Logic just dropped, honey child. Y'all see the problem? Y'all see my struggles? Anyway, yeah, I got to make Marlon check the log for Logic, because I suspected from earlier this week that they've been dropping out as well. What a struggle. So here's the problem, right? Here's where I have an issue with this story. The rape culture that this is a perfect example, actually, of the rape culture in this community. Alric read a judgment. Let me see how many pages the judgment is. I'm assuming it's a sentencing judgment that he read, because there would have been two judgments. It would have been the judgment when he was found guilty. And then there's the other one when he was actually sentenced, and why she gave him a sentence of 60.5 years. Based on what Alric has here, I believe that it is that one that he did, which was from the 15th of September. So like I said, it's pretty old, and as these things go. So that's a sentence. Let me see here. So yeah, so the issue with this judgment now, right, is all of this one is how many pages? Oh my gosh, hold on. How many pages is this judgment? 11 pages. And the only thing he got out of this is that Renato thinks that he's a victim. I'm like, okay, there's so much packed into this that Alwick could have chosen to write about, but he picks the singular thing that is most detrimental to this victim. And again, it shows me the mindset of particularly the men in this country, but just generally speaking. And I gotta tell you, I'm disappointed with Alric because as someone who has put himself up to be a leader in this country, I would have expected that he would have done a bit more research on this guy, a bit more research even on this case. Alec didn't show up to any of the trial. Nobody else was there in terms of media because I was there and I know. So he says that he starts out by saying that, you know, he was sentenced to 2 counts, 6.5 years. Then he does a headline, says Harris as the victim. He says, notwithstanding that the victim impact report highly highlighted the extensive emotional impact, including panic attacks, anxiety, and depression experienced by the victim, Harris's social inquiry report depicts Harris's statements about himself as the victim. So why are we focusing on, not to say that you couldn't mention that somewhere in the article, but why is that the focal point of the article? That's why he actually got 16.5 years. Because number one, he never admitted at any point any degree of guilt. He's never said, I'm sorry for how I've ruined your life, traumatized you, forced you to drop out of a professional career, forced you to drop out of school, got you pregnant, you know, all this stuff. This is one of the most horrific cases in terms of the consequences of what, you know, all happened to this girl. He has never said, I'm sorry for any of that. And so when you do the social inquiry report, you sit down with experts. And what the experts said is that this guy is such a narcissist, basically, that he is going to, he's at high risk of reoffending. This article could have talked about that. Renato at high risk of reoffending, according to experts. And that is why, you know, we don't want him out of here. We don't want him out on the streets too soon. That's what the judge had to decide. And so, yes, he is so claiming that he's the victim and he's innocent and this woman did this to him and the woman ruined his life. That is his narrative without a doubt. But the court didn't believe it. The professional who was conducting the social inquiry report certainly didn't believe it. So much so that they went on to say that, in fact, he is at extremely high risk of reoffending. Yeah. So, you know, it's shocking to me that the twist that you put on this, you start out talking about how he's a victim. I mean, the context of the article, you know, where he's saying that she destroyed my life, she targeted me and preyed upon me. That's like one line out of an 11-page judgment. And I think it's really, really sad that the title even implies that he is somehow a victim. It does go on to fairly say, though, that even after that, the judge said, you know, that essentially nobody's believing your I'm a victim story here. And the starting point of imprisonment was 17 years. And there was very little by way of mitigation. So she only took off 6 months. Because this is one of those classic cases of where, again, he's high risk. He showed no degree of remorse whatsoever. It's shocking and unbelievable all at the same time. Wow. Well, folks, we have to continually advocate for victims on behalf of victims. This victim actually is going to be on the show next week, Wednesday. So I want you all to please mark your calendars for that. It's International Women's Day. So she is going to be joining us. And, I've been in communication with her since this trial started. I don't know her personally, but her story and how she's really turned this around has been extremely compelling for me. Because it is very, very easy once you've been victimized by people to, oh gosh, Kevin is just reminding me I have the Ukraine expert up on Wednesday. So we'll do Ukraine first. What time were they coming, Kevin? Hold on now. Oh, I think I forgot to put her in my calendar too. No, I have your lady in my calendar, Kevin. But yes, what time did we agree on Wednesday that she's coming? 7:45 to 8 o'clock? Yeah, we'll have your lady up first. The good news about going till 10:30 is we have plenty of time. So we'll have the Ukraine expert up first. We're going to just get an update on the Ukraine-Russian war, and then we'll have the victim come on afterwards. So, I feel like when something as horrific as this has happened to you, it's very, very easy to become an angry person. It's very easy to hate all men and want to punish all men and, that sort of thing. But this young lady has, she'll tell you more about her journey, but she has turned this into her becoming an advocate for other victims of sexual assault. And she works in the court system now as a volunteer sexual abuse advocate. I don't know if she's set up an NPO, but we can get all those details from her. So I think that, that's pretty amazing, to be honest. Good for her. Good morning to Miss Bonnie. Yeah, I don't know what that article is about, to be honest. I'm going to have a conversation with Alwick, though, because I want to understand. I want to get in his head a little bit and understand why this headline, what is this? What is this all about? The majority of this population is actually women. And I think anybody who has put themselves out as a community activist, as, you've got to be able to represent the interests of women. Now, we know it's difficult because we see that over the years, a lot of the issues that impact both women and families, everything from maternity leave and support and whatever, it just hasn't happened. Look at how long it took. The progressive government simply wasn't prepared to do it. But look now at how long it took, 15, 16 years, for us to finally get some draft sexual harassment legislation. And this is coming out of, I think this falls under the Premier's office. Finally, my God, 15 years. Do you know in 15 years how much we have regressed and not progressed in any meaningful way? And there've been people who've been trying to work on this forever. And this is as far as we've gotten, unfortunately. Well, I guess it's a lot farther than where we were. But my gosh, 15 years to get draft legislation, finally. To me, that is so crazy. It's unbelievable, quite frankly. We finally have it, so I guess I should be grateful for that. So I want you guys to ensure that you are part of the solution, not part of the problem. So big shout out to Joanna Bodden Small. She was saying as well that, she can't believe the long journey that this has taken. And she posted thanking a lot of the young BPW, Sexual Harassment and Stalking Task Force. So some of the names on there we will be very, very familiar with. These are women in this community and men who, have really stepped up to the plate and said that we need to be the voice of change in this country. So what we see happening around us, we can't just sit back and allow it to happen without any commentary. So here's some of the people who've worked towards this. They were all on the Sexual Harassment and Stalking Task Force. So everybody from Julie Adams, Robert Blackman, Jessica Bodden, Suzanne Bothwell, and the list goes on. So thank you very much to all of these. Nadra's in there, Ebanks, Joy Cole, Zena Marin. Thank you so much to all of these men and women who have really stepped up to the plate in terms of this. And thank you finally to a government who can, put pen to paper and at least get us a little bit closer to having some meaningful legislation. So as of March the 1st, the public consultation period for the draft Sexual Harassment Bill 2023 has kicked off. The premier hosted a celebratory luncheon. Well, it says he announced at a celebratory luncheon. My apologies. Let me get that right. He didn't host a luncheon, but he announced it at the Business and Professional Women's Club. So the draft bill has been approved by Cabinet for publication as a discussion draft for members of the public to submit feedback. So he thanked the BPWC for their steadfast advocacy for over 16 years for enacting the legislation. And he says that the time is now and the opportunity is now. Let us show the world that Cayman means business when we say we're committed to eliminating sexual harassment for the betterment of our community. Well, I'm hoping, Premier Panton, that means that in short order, we're also going to be hearing some forward movement on some increasing in fines and penalties for people who molest and abuse children, as well as some, I'm going to get you guys the link for this as well as some increasing, as well as that sex offenders registry. The Attorney General has admitted that we need a sex offenders registry, but they've never been able to move it forward because he says, oh, well, there's certain hurdles that we're going to come into because Cayman is such a small community. Well, geez, really? Hurdles present themselves all over the world. And we have other things that we have done in this community that had what appeared to be insurmountable hurdles, and we still found a way to enact them and to get around it. So, let's get the ball rolling on that as well. So good morning to Miss Barbara. Miss Dorothy's here. Good morning to Carrie. How are you? Good to see you. Miss Olive is in the house. Stacy confirmed that the internet just dropped, honey chill. Power Lycan morning. CUC is coming. What time are they going to be here? Let me just check in. Somebody said good on my end, didn't drop out. Yes. Okay. Let me see. What? Ready when you are. All right. Yep. Let me see who else we got here. So let me tell you all about solar and why you got to make sure. I don't see you. You might want to refresh that connection. I was wondering where you are. Yeah, so listen, I'm an advocate of trying to do our little part with the environment and sustainability. And you know what? Solar saves you money. Here's a little bit snippet of my solar journey. So we had gotten our house, and I was like, my husband's very forward thinking as well. So he's like, oh, we're going to get solar at some point. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so we actually went through green tech, and we were talking about, different options. Every time we'd go by A.L. Thompson's, James was there. We'd talk to James. And so we're like, yeah, we want solar. We just got into this house, and you know how it happens. You get into a house, it's not just the mortgage, honey child. You're like changing out fixtures, and you're doing all sorts of stuff. So you got to have a little budget set aside for all those little incidental things that you end up doing as well, right? So we're like, yeah, we're going to save up for solar. He's like, He said, let me tell you something. What I would suggest you do is you go back to the bank. You're at the early end of your mortgage, so it's not like a refinance is going to be adding anything substantial to it. He's like, go to the bank and just have them add on the cost of the solar. In fact, before we even got our house, I was in an apartment in Newlands, and we were talking about getting solar then. But, apartment complexes, honey child, it's a collective agreement, and everybody has to agree to it. And I couldn't individually put solar panels on the roof just for my unit, so I couldn't be bothered with that. I was like, yeah, let's just wait till we get our own place. Like, it was our place, but you know what I mean? No strata to deal with. So anyway, he explained to us, and this is kind of interesting. I think a lot of people miss this point. And I'll have Sasha kind of explain it to us a little bit again this morning, but you come in at a particular point of that you're reselling the solar to CUC at. I don't know what the technical term for it is. We'll get that here in a second. But that kilowatt per hour amount changes over time. And it makes sense. So like a couple years ago, it was 25 cents. The buyback rate was 25 cents a kilowatt. As they get more people on board, that comes down. Because, CUC is basically buying it back from you. And I guess the more people they have on the solar program, just from an economics perspective, they've got to be able to adjust the rate. So the rate adjusts down. So in other words, the longer you wait to get into these solar programs, the less value you're going to get for what the little sun is generating on your panels. So right now, they're doing it at 0.175 per kilowatt hour for solar PV systems, and we'll get all the details on this, at 5 kilowatts and below, and then 0.15 for systems that are at 5 kilowatt up to 10. So when James kind of explained it to us, I said, wait a minute. So you mean that waiting is actually detrimental to what I'll get? And he said, yes, basically. Because we wanted to go all out. We wanted to get the solar, the backup battery, and the backup batteries are like really expensive. And so we want to do everything. And I said, this is one of those situations now where as a consumer, you got to think smart. It's better to get the benefit, even without the backup battery, because, we didn't have the budget for that. We didn't want to go over budget. It's still better to get the solar panels on and start using the system, because you will realize savings pretty much immediately. So we said, all right. Went to my favorite bank, CNB, said, hey, this is what we want to do. CNB didn't even hesitate. They're like, yep, it's good value for money. You're going to save money on your utility bill. CNB has to be smart too, because if I'm saving money on my utilities, that's more money that can go towards my mortgage or whatever, so saving money is good for everybody. So they approved it, added it on to the mortgage, and got it installed. It is a process. Trust me, installation's a process. I had no issues with Green Tech. Really, really pleased with them, in fact. And, they work with different independent contractors, and they all get it done. And they do, they came in, they did they have people come in and do an inspection on your current roofing situation. It's a good thing that they did, because they were like, oh yes, you need a couple more hurricane straps, honey chill. Because if you put the load of these 50 panels on your roof, The first hurricane that comes, that's going to get blown off because you don't have sufficient straps. And we're like, really? We didn't build a house, but it was a new build. So we called in a roofing company. They came in, secured the roof better, put more straps in, Then they came back and re-inspected it. You've got to work with the building control unit over at the planning department. So it's a whole process. And we eventually got it done. The first month, we got it done. The first bill that we got after that was $60-something. Right now, keep in mind that I consider my household, I know that it is based on my CUC bill. When I see the bill, I look at the usage. We're like high-end users. We have a lot of devices here. I remember one time we were having like an issue with Flo, and Flo was like, this is before fiber. Flo was like, you do recognize that there's like 50 separate devices connected to the internet in your household. Because everything like cameras, Alexa devices, computers, like the whole, it's a bunch of stuff. It's even more than that now. We're like, oh yeah, So we're heavy consumers of electricity. So for us, a solar system makes complete sense. I mean, there's really no question about it. First bill was like $60-something. We have 4 AC units. At the time, it was actually 3. We have a 4th one now. And so given what we use, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty good. The next bill after that, for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, we were in a constant credit with our CUC bill. So in other words, our usage was such that every single month they would offset that at whatever, I think we were at 0.25 kilowatts for what we're getting it reimbursed at, right? And they would come in, do the adjustments. Everything's on your bill. Very, very transparent. I must say CUC breaks everything down. You see what they're buying back from you. You see, the value of that in a dollar amount, the deduction on your bill, everything, and boom. It is amazing. So every month I was like getting a credit. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. I'm not paying a CUC bill. Do you know how good that feels? Even if it was, because now we're paying one, but I mean, it's still reduced. And a couple of things have happened to our usage since then, why it's gone up a little bit, but not to have to pay a CUC bill every month. Honey child, what you could do with that money. So many things. The best thing to do with it is just stick it on the mortgage because you're going to pay that off quicker. But anyway, we've got Sasha, who's VP of Customer Service, joining us from CUC today. So he's going to tell us a little bit about, apparently the program is open again. So if you've been sitting on the fence and thinking about solar and trying to figure out whether or not you want to do it, this now is your opportunity, folks, to really get serious about it. Take it from me. Take my word for it. Now, I know y'all listen to me and you're like, yes, Auntie Sandy, you're an influencer. You tell me to do something, I'm going to run out there and do it. I'm telling you to do something that's going to benefit you financially. It's going to benefit your pocket. This is where now it makes good sense. All right?
I am Richard Hugh, President and CEO of CUC. Our focus has always been on you, our customers. Times are changing, and so are your expectations. We are listening to our employees and the people of the Cayman Islands to find new opportunities that can improve your experience. We are working every day to provide you with a safe and reliable electricity service. You are at the core of everything that we do. We are exploring and adopting new technologies and sources of energy which will benefit you as we become more reliable and more efficient, which will mean lower energy costs. We are working to improve our energy management tools, offer new products and services, and provide 24/7 customer support. Our new vision, empowering Cayman to be a global leader, is building momentum towards a better future for our islands.
All right, folks, welcome back. We've got Sasha Tibbetts again, Vice President of Customer Service, joining us from Caribbean Utility Company. Good morning, Sasha. How are you?
Morning, Sandra. How are you doing? Good to be on here.
Yes, absolutely. I am good. So, I'm an advocate of people thinking about solar, planning whether it's a new build or they've purchased, a home, their improvements. There's so many things that I feel like we spend money on. that don't necessarily give us any value. You know, we go out and buy new cars. The second we take them off the lot, they've depreciated by 25% almost automatically. And so this makes good money. I mean, I see Jonathan saying it's still too expensive to put up. Believe me, like I said, there are banks out there who are offering, solar financing options. I know CNB had come on board last year with a very specific plan, and they have had a couple of different options. It's not too expensive when you see the benefits at the back end and what you're actually saving. So let's explain a little bit about how the programs work. I think it's important for people to, first of all, understand the different programs that are available. So there's the CORE program, and then there's the DER, which is the Distributed Energy Resources. What's the difference between the two?
Well, the one common thing is they both involve having renewable energy on the customer's site that's designed to sort of supplement and augment the usage of the customer. For the CORE program, and I was listening earlier, so I might want to add a little bit of clarity on the point with the declining rates that you were talking about. So in the CORE program, when a customer signs up for that program, they are signing up for a tariff or feed-in tariff where CUC pays them a fixed rate for 20 years for 100% of what they produce. So all of it. So yeah, I think you're a CORE customer. So if I can use you as an example, all of the energy that your system produces, we buy, and I think I heard you say it's 25 cents per kilowatt hour is the program that you're on. We buy from you at 25 cents a kilowatt hour, and we put that energy into the entire pool of energy that the island uses from other CORE users and from energy generated from our diesel engines as well. And it all creates one big blended energy rate. But that 25 cents that you're signed up for, you have 25 cents for 20 years, right? Or 25, I can't remember if it's 20 or 25 years, but it's fixed. Now, people that signed up into the program maybe a year or two after you did would have probably got a lower rate. So that declining rate is for future phases of the program. And the main reason for that decline has been right around there's two purposes for it. Number one, 25 cents that we pay for CORE, and there's some that are even 38 cents or 38.5 cents is I think the highest paid one, is higher than the cost of fuel now. Even now when fuel is super high, it's much higher. And so it actually causes a cost increase to the general consumer because it goes into that blended pot of energy. So it increases the average cost of energy. So we've been working over the years to bring that as far down as possible, but also recognizing that the rate needs to encourage renewables. So if we were to put a rate out where the homeowner couldn't get a return on their investment, it wouldn't be a very successful program. So it's been a big balance of trying to make sure that we get renewables coming on the grid, number one, but number two, we're not increasing the cost of energy to the average consumer in an appreciable way in doing so. So that rate has been coming down also because the cost of renewable energy has been coming down. So I think you had mentioned that you had been told that, you move now, it's, because you're going to get a higher rate. And if you go later, it might be a lower rate. True. But also true is if you go a little bit later, the cost of the system may be a little bit lower as well. So maybe the return on the investment might be very similar anyway. That's the reason for the declining cost. The program is pretty old now. We've been doing it since, I want to say 2009. Don't quote me on that, but it's approximately there. So, we've been doing it for 12, 15 years. And, it started off at 38.5 cents. And we're now down to 15 and the 17.5 that you talked about earlier. And I can say that even at 15 and 17.5, the returns must be very good because the program that we opened up on the 1st of March sold out in 5 hours.
Wow.
So all 3 megawatts went in the first 5 hours. And that's just how many people were lining up literally to get solar at that rate. So I think that is very, a very, very clear point that there really isn't any need for the rate to be higher than 15 or 17 and a half cents because, the demand is clearly there at that level.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that the more people educate themselves about solar and how it works and the benefits, like I don't necessarily understand all the technical stuff, but what I do understand is the dollar and cents. And so every month that I get my CUC bill, I was just trying to find the last bill to kind of see, what my savings would have been. But yeah, every single time I get my CUC bill and I see that I have saved, $400, I think on average, I'm probably—
You must have a pretty big system.
Yeah. Yes. I think on average, I'm probably in the 400 plus range of I'm just gonna have a quick look.
Sounds about right.
But that's cutting my bill by like a significant amount. So last time we had, so we're on the core credit, 5 to 10 kilowatt, $458.12.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no,
That's
it is.
$458 that I can do something else with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, trust me, it's and it's one of the reasons why I don't complain so much about my CUC bill is because I am getting that credit. Like I said, it was immediate. The first month that we got, like the first bill that rolled out after the solar installation, we saw it went down to like 60 something dollars. And then of course, the other reason why I don't complain about my CUC bill anymore is post Ivan, I understood the real cost of having to go and buy fuel. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. It was such a stark realization for me to have to top up that generator every single day and realize that if I'm buying fuel at whatever rate, which obviously CUC is buying in bulk and it's a slightly different rate and whatever, but it's still a lot of money. Fuel is not cheap. It's not expensive. It's not renewable. We need to start moving away from some of that if we can. But the stark reality is when I look at my bill, the majority of my bill, $566.30, folks, is the fuel cost.
Yeah, we got to get rid of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that really is the primary strategy of the company, to get as much solar on the grid as much affordable solar on the grid as possible, so that it can replace the expensive diesel. I just wanted to pick up on a point that you put out there that I don't think many people appreciate, but that whole cost of providing your own power from a diesel genset is really high, even though it's the same technology that CUC uses. The cost to do it for a single home is much higher than to take it from a source that's optimized and shared using a grid. That same concept holds through for solar. So the cost of doing solar for an individual home, and I'm sure anybody who's costed out what going off grid with solar would be, and it is extremely expensive compared to buying energy from a grid that is largely fed from solar systems that are optimized and done in a proper way. It's huge. So the same logic holds. So I don't know, maybe if you were to do your own diesel generation in your home, your cost for energy might go up 4 times or whatever. That it's the same logic that would hold true if you were to try and do your own solar as opposed to buy solar from a grid that has solar, that is predominantly solar powered. So that is a fundamental aspect of what the company strategy is for this road to renewables that we're on, and trying to make sure that the majority of the energy that is on our grid comes from renewable energy, low cost renewable energy.
Oh. All right, folks. So Alejandro's kind of getting it. He's saying, wow, that's strip club money for the weekend. What a savings. No, Alejandro, that's money.
Considering your earlier discussion, I'm not sure that's on point. But
I know, right?
Maybe a mortgage payment might be better.
Yes, him and Jonathan, they're in the back of the classroom for a reason. So, again, I just want to show you guys here, and I'm always happy to use myself as a bit of a guinea pig in terms of usage and the actual cost. So let's break this down a little bit, Sasha, because I think people always Sometimes they don't look at the details.
Even better.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't look at the details here, and they like, all I see is the total. CUC is killing me, blah blah blah. But I always say the devil's in the details, folks. So let's have a look at this
for you.
Sorry.
You want me to walk through this for you?
Yeah. Let's break it down.
Okay. All right. So you used, I guess this is your December bill. It's due in January. 3,009 kilowatt hours for the month of December, which you're right, you are a super user. That's about 3 times the average home. But that is also because you have all of those computers and servers in your home, which do use a lot of electricity and cause a lot of air conditioning load.
And one of the reasons,
and it was a really good decision that you made to go and get a solar system to help you with that,
Yeah, let me just say this too, that one of the reasons why initially we were always in the credit is because we were below that, probably $400 mark. But we actually were paying a separate CUC bill for a commercial unit. And so I basically made a business decision to close that commercial unit and really make this sort of my home office. So I'm working from home. So when I look at the cost associated with the savings of that, not having a separate CUC bill to pay for the business, to me, it makes complete sense, to do it this way. And yes, those were machines that then had to be moved to this location here and actually set up in a server room. That server room has to be temperature controlled at a particular temperature. So there's a lot that
you're not your average home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's go through the bill. So 3,009, the energy charge kilowatt hours, that's the base rate for electricity. That's the fee that's paid to CUC for CUC's services. It covers all the costs of our generation assets, transmission and distribution assets, the staff, and all operating expenses, maintenance, etc. It comes out of that $356 in your case. Then there's your core credit, which is the 26 cents paid for this. Here it's showing 1,762 kilowatt hours you generated that month. So you got 26 cents for each of those, which works out to $458.
Yes. So let me just pause you right there. So if there was nothing else involved in my CUC bill, so if there was no government fuel duty, there was no fuel costs, there was nothing else that I was paying, I would still technically be in a credit with CUC, right?
Yes, except it would not be possible to give you the energy without burning fuel.
I know. But you see, this is the mistake that people make, though.
Yeah.
Because they think when they see that final amount, the total down at the bottom, they think that that's all going in CUC's pocket. That is the energy charge, right? But now let's look at the fuel cost, because this is crazy. That my fuel cost, which is $566.30, is actually more than the energy charge that CUC charged me by $200?
Yeah.
Over $200.
Yeah, and that changed. That changed a lot last year. Fuel almost a little bit more than a year ago was 12 cents all in, including the duty, and it's now in the range of 20 cents. So your bill last year, January, would have probably been very different as a result of that. I would imagine it would at least be half of what you have here, unless your usage was very different. So 3,009 kilowatt hours used. So there's fuel duty, fuel costs, and then the renewable energy component, which are the 3 components of the blended energy that I talked about earlier. So fuel energy, renewable energy, all goes into one pot, and it becomes a blended energy and rate. And this is how it's broken down. So we've broken out the fuel duty component. We've broken out the fuel cost component. That's what we pay to the fuel providers, not a penny more, not a penny less. The renewable energy component is what we pay to the renewable energy providers like yourself, like the Bodentown Solar Farm, and all the other core and DER customers. And then the license and regulatory fee is our fee that we pay to OFREG. And then the CUC fuel relief is that cost relief program that we had implemented, which, if I recall, was designed to cap the total energy costs to 20 cents. And so we were just a little bit above 20 cents in December. So you had a small component of a rebate of 26 cents, which was deferred for collection this year.
Right. All right, but folks, so that's a little bit of a sample there of, what my bill looks like. But the breakdown, really, the principle here that I want you to understand is the breakdown of how all of this works. So we do have James, who is here in the comment section from, oh gosh, I just said the name. Remind me of the name. From James Whitaker. James, what's the name of your company again? I literally just said it. But anyway, he provides solar panels and solar installations. And so he's critical of CUC. James has said that CUC has continually failed to proactively plan and deploy capacity for years. And that the CORE program, despite their claims otherwise, to ensure that the CORE program ran out for months and that local energy companies are negatively impacted. So let's address this, Sasha. Why has there been a delay in the CORE program? I know there was something about off-reg and licensing and permission from off-reg to get some extended battery capacity. What is this all about?
Yeah, it really is very simple, and it is unfortunate the views that are taken as to why this is happening. But there's a few things that we need to look at, right? Mm-hmm. The CORE program primarily benefits two entities. It benefits the CORE system owner, mm-hmm. and it benefits the company that installed it. And it benefits them in a good way, both financially. The entities that are paying for that are the consumer at large. Mm-hmm. So insofar as the system is benefiting the consumer at large, there's a good reason to expand this program. And there was a time where in the 20-month period that he refers to, where that was not the case, right? Mm-hmm. It was just simply not the case. Expanding the CORE program was going to increase costs to consumers, both from the fact that there was a big difference between the cost of the CORE program and the cost of energy, and also we had enough that there was so much renewable on the grid already that it was starting to negatively impact the fuel efficiency of the generation system, which was also increasing the cost to consumers. And contrary to popular belief, it is very much in CUC's and the country's best interest to not increase cost of energy. Mm-hmm. It's a fundamental. I mean, you spoke about what you can do if you didn't have to pay for it, right? That's so that's very much a part of our strategy, is finding ways of reducing costs to consumers while still providing a robust, reliable, stable service. Things changed over the last year. One of the major changes was the cost of fuel changed, right? Mm. And that changed the dynamics of that problem that I was talking about with the CORE systems, causing an increase in cost. Another thing that changed is we got started on our battery storage project, which we expect to have online at the beginning of next year. That battery storage project is going to solve the fuel efficiency issue that I spoke about earlier and open up greater amounts of renewable energy. So at one point we were waiting for that battery storage project to come online, but when the cost of fuel went up, we realized, well, geez, the CORE program is now cheaper than fuel. It actually is a cost benefit now, and so we reopened it, and that is why it was reopened earlier than we had previously stated, because we did the studies to analyze and confirm that, and we made sure that we weren't increasing costs to customers. And so we opened up the 3 megawatts. In the statement that we made to open up the 3 megawatts, we said that we would be opening a further program within about 3 months, We do have to work with OFREG on the structure of that program, and I do expect that we'll make some changes, hopefully changes that are better for both renewables energy owners and the public in general. And we'll be releasing that program in about 3 months, and hopefully that will carry us through to when the energy storage system comes online, and we'll have a further program that opens up there then as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, all of the things of, you know, CUC trying to hold industry back, it's really an ill-founded argument. CUC has no interest in the success or failure of those companies, right? CUC's primary interest is serving its customers in a cost-effective and reliable way.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the customers are dictating that solar be an option, right? So CUC has got to fall in line with that.
Yeah, and insofar that we can do that in a way like we just did, that is not causing a cost impact to customers, we will, and we'll fiercely pursue those options so that our customers can benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Everton says here in the States, we have incentives. I think that the state pays for you to get solar, if not mistaken. Reason why I don't get a solar panel installed on my roof. Reason why, okay. When the roof goes bad, you have to pay for it to remove so that you can replace the roof, and you have to pay for them to come back and install it. So, I mean, but to be fair, Everton, I mean, I don't know what your roof is like in the States, but most roofs come with longevity. I mean, you're not replacing a roof every 5 years or even every 10 years. So unless there's some major incident when your roof is going to have an issue, you're not, you know, maybe 25, 50 years on a roof. I mean, I don't really know, but that's quite some time. Mm-hmm. So Aliana says, imagine a company passing on its operational cost onto its consumers directly. So let's talk about this, because I think Aliano and probably a lot of other people who've never, I don't know if Aliana has ever operated a business, don't understand that all businesses pass on their operational cost to you.
Just not transparently.
Let me be very clear, Aliano. If whatever business I'm in, whether it's CMR, Roque, Micromatrix, training, whatever, if I don't pass on my operational cost to you, how the hell do you think I'm making a profit? That doesn't make any sense. Business 101 means that I have to be able to cover all of those things to make money. Now, what CUC does, they put it in your face. They say it's transparency. They tell you and they break it down. This is what you're paying for this. This is what you're paying for that. This is what you know. So they do it as a line item. Every single company. CUC, Flow, Logic, all these companies pass on operational costs to you. They just don't tell it to you.
Yeah.
So in the back of your mind, you're thinking what?
The other thing is slightly different, Sandra, for our system is our returns are regulated.
Yes.
So we
and
can't,
it's public information.
We can't just increase rates and to make more or less money. Our returns are regulated at a stable rate, which allows the utility to have financial strength to be able to provide reliable service. This is something that you want out of a utility. You want it to be able to be robust. You want the service to be reliable and something that you can count on. And then also what you want is the costs to be stable and as low as possible. The costs is the area that we are focusing very heavily on now with our renewable energy programs and our push to getting a vast majority of the renewable, because the only thing that we can control is where we get the energy from. The infrastructure to provide that, those costs are reasonably fixed and normal. And in fact, if you look at our rates for transmission and distribution, which are not broken out, but they're part of that energy rate that's 11 cents. We're right in line with what you would find in North America, right? So that cost component is fairly standard. But what we can do is, well, we can't control the cost of fuel, but we can decide whether we buy any of it or whether we need it, right? So the large part of our strategy over the next 10 to 15 years is getting rid of that fuel bill as much as possible and replacing it with low cost solar. right?
Yes.
And so having the transparency on the bill, while it might seem, well, it's CUC's just passing on its operational costs, like you said, all businesses do that, right? The difference is if we were a regular business, you would have a single line item that says electricity, this cost, and you wouldn't know where it went, right? Now you know, and there's transparency, and all of the costs are there, and there's no sort of, well, geez, how do I know this 30 cents is right? Right? You can see the breakdown.
Yeah. We have a caller in the line, but to Jim's point, many people do not understand business. And I feel like it's a struggle because we certainly here in this program try to break it down, because I can't tell you, if I had $1 for every single time someone says that CUC marks up the fuel cost, I would be a rich woman. I could just retire and kick out my feet. And I try to get in the comment section. I'm like, but they don't. How many times do you have to understand what you see as a fuel charge on your bill is what they paid for it during that period of time? So again, on this bill that we're looking at, my fuel was $566.30. That was like 50% of my bill. You know, it's just crazy that y'all keep saying that, and it's not true. Caller, good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that, you know, CUC always gets bad comments, bad, you know, reputation for whatever reason. Would I like my CUC bill to be less? Of course, everyone would.
Yes.
However, as you said, you know, they have to pass on operational costs, and you'd be surprised if your supermarket bill was split out of what the operational cost was. You would be shocked to know. I mean, they got to pay their CUC bill, so obviously they have to pass that cost on in the price of their goods.
Yeah.
Also, I know several people that work for CUC, and as an employer, I have heard nothing but good about CUC as an employer. And for me, if I had to choose, I mean, we can't choose, but if I had to choose between CUC and say that there was another company that was treating their employees bad, weren't hiring Caymanians, XYZ, I would choose them, even if they were more expensive, because that means a lot to me. Because the same people that are complaining about their CUC bill would be the first ones to complain if they hired cheap labor and work permit holders and XYZ so that they could reduce that operational cost.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, caller, for that point.
Thank you.
Alrighty. And I think to be fair,
really nice to hear.
And to be fair to CUC and what that caller has said, they have been known forever to actually be a really good company to work for. And I think the longevity of a lot of their workers speaks to that. Like, most people go there and they never leave, you know? I mean, I can think, Sasha, how long have you been with the company?
August 1998.
Yes. So, you know, they offer
furniture.
They offer educational opportunities for their staff, training and some upward mobility and promotions. And, you know, you
know what else I find that really makes a big difference with our employees. I see that the team working every day, whatever it is that they're working on, and the passion that they have, because they know that when they do a good job, it affects the entire country. It shows up every single day, whether that is getting a unit back online sooner than expected so that we have capacity to serve, whether that is restoring an outage, the way that they approach maintenance with a high level of quality, or just even the passion that I see in management meetings of the entire team of trying to always find that next best thing to improve service. It really is phenomenal. And for me, it is a very large part of why I've been with the company as long as I have.
Yep. We've got a viewer to the program. She says, good morning. I appreciate the high level of service that we get from CUC. Other places, electricity is a luxury. I know y'all don't want to believe it, but you should.
And truthfully, 5-6 years ago, our reliability statistics were, in our view, not acceptable. And over the last about 5 or 6 years, we've spent a lot of effort, both time and money, in bringing that down. And we're now very close to under 2 hours a year of outage for the average customer. I do realize that some customers are impacted in a greater way individually, but the average is and target is 2 hours and a maximum of 2 outages on the average. So some people get less, some people will get a little bit more, unfortunately, but that is our performance target.
Yeah. Okay, caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hi, morning.
Hi, Sandy. It's Johan Moxham. How you doing?
Hi, Johan. Good. How are you?
Good morning to Mr. Tibbetts as well. Just calling in. I know you guys are probably talking about the solar program. And just to sidebar for a minute, all things considered, if you've been fortunate enough to travel throughout the region to go and have to work somewhere else, I think we as Caymanians are extremely fortunate to have a well-run company like CUC in the Cayman Islands, because if you go anywhere in the Caribbean, the performance levels, the consistency, and the professionalism, and this comes from being there as a visitor, but also from the residents, CUC are night and day ahead of everybody else in the region, and I would include really nice places like Bermuda as well. So, Sasha, I know you might be taking some licks, but those of us that have seen a bit more than Cayman, yes, of course, we'd all love to have the fuel factor be addressed, but those are sort of global things that I think honestly are out of the control of CUC. But I think it's only fair that we acknowledge the number of Caymanians that are trained, developed, promoted at CUC. Look at the number of Caymanian employees. You know, they've got a CEO, Mr. Hugh. He's a really, really bright man. He's a good man. He's a steady leader. He's always been that, and he's been there for forever. And you know, they've got wave upon wave of those type of Caymanians in their ranks. So it's easy to beat up on a company if you don't understand how business works and the cost and operational cost of business. But I felt it was only fair to call in and just say, as somebody who is grateful for the professionalism, and I think Mr. Tibbetts just made the point, when our power goes out, yeah, it's an inconvenience, but it gets back up really quickly, because all of them, from the low-level employee to the senior executive, they're clicking. And we would be lucky to have more companies like CUC invest in Caymanians, train, develop, and you know, produce. Look at Mr. Tibbetts' journey. You know what I mean? He's one of those people that we're talking about. Now, we don't always agree on everything, but the proof is in the pudding. So for those that have no appreciation or conveniently forget, thank you, CUC, for being the best utility provider in the Caribbean. It makes the life of me and my family and the country a whole lot better. So that's all I wanted to say. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
And Johan, I know Johan does not mince words, so I was going to tell really you, appreciate that vote of confidence, and I don't disagree with any of it.
I was going to tell you as well, Sasha, for Johan to actually pick up the phone and call about anybody he doesn't really call in as often. He comments, but I think that says a lot that he decided to take the time this morning.
Yeah, no, I really, really appreciate that and feel the same way.
Yeah. And, you know, like Johan said, go live somewhere else for 6 months, a year, and you'll get an idea of exactly how, you know, we should be grateful at some level. This person says, and this is so funny, I just read this and it made me chuckle. This person says, yep, been to other countries where electricity is cut off without warning, and we have no clue when it's going to come back on. And I pay my CUC bill before I pay my mortgage. I was like, okay, she's going to make sure that CUC bill gets paid. So yeah, I mean, folks, listen, as a company, I think that they offer a valuable service. It's, you know, like they said, they've been improving their performance over the years in terms of the reliability of the service. And most of the time when it goes out, it's no fault of CUC. It's actually some drunk who ran into a light pole. And I know how quickly they moved to try to improve those things. That
happened a few times in the last week, unfortunately.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So a couple questions here. Perla says, I have a question regarding the light poles. Are we going wireless? What is a wireless light pole? Island wide? Because when hurricane hits, we have wires in the road and poles broken. I mean, I think she means underground.
Hopefully. I'll tell you what, if there's wireless energy, there's a lot of money to be made. So this is actually a really good question. And I got involved in a discussion online with Denny Warren the other day about whether, underground utilities are appropriate in Cayman. And I am keen to hear what the public's opinion on it. So, but our view is that there is a place for it. Yes, 100%. It is a superior solution, but that superior solution comes with a cost. So the cost of running a line underground versus overhead on pole is not like a few percent more. It's in the order of magnitude more. So 2, 3, 4 times more. And so in a world where energy prices are really high, it's a really difficult decision to make. Well, geez, do we increase them even further so that we can go underground? And that the answer to that is not a simple yes or no, because underground, you then have to look at, okay, well, we build our houses stronger and our buildings stronger so they can survive hurricanes. Why don't we do the same thing for our utilities and just and pay the difference? And that's also not a simple question to answer, because pay the difference when people are already struggling to pay is difficult. So what our approach has been is, and we've got approval to start doing this, is to take some of our critical circuits, the heaviest loaded backbone circuits, and put them underground. So you may have seen recently the works that were happening with the big cable reels on North Sound Road. So we're putting the transmission line that runs down that road and connects to our South Sound substation underground, so that the South Sound substation would be fed without having to have any overhead infrastructure. So that after a storm, that substation and also the 7 Mile Beach substation we would be able to start restoring service, not just from the North Sound plant, but from those substations as well, because everything would be underground fed to them. And the distribution circuits from those are easier to make repairs on than the transmission circuits.
Right. So Alejandro says, people don't appreciate the work CUC does. I want to know how many of you are going to go buy generators and pay for your own energy. Perla has another question. She says, how are these panels protected from a hurricane? So,
really good question.
Yeah.
So they are glass. So are our windows. And in most cases, we cover windows up with plywood or hurricane shutters or something, or we buy impact windows. And it is in the sort of like the latter strategy that the solar panels sit. So they are designed to take the wind loading. Well, not all panels, but the ones that would be installed in Grand Cayman and certainly Miami-Dade County and the rest, designed to take appropriate wind loads. That being said, if you have debris fly into the solar panel, it's probably going to break, right? But just like you don't expect that up on your roof that you're going to get a complete destroy from that. So I would expect that, in a really bad hurricane, some of the solar panels on the roof might get damaged, but I doubt it would be all of them. And so after a hurricane, maybe the solar array might be diminished in capability if it was installed incorrectly. If it was installed correctly, if it was installed incorrectly, it might be gone. And we've certainly seen that in studies done throughout the Caribbean. And Cayman hasn't really been hit by a hurricane, thankfully, since the rollout of solar in Grand Cayman. But other islands have, and you see stories, and we've done studies and analysis of the plants that survived and the plants that didn't. And there's some good papers out there on what simple little things were done to make sure that the damage was not. And we've learned from those lessons. And I think some of the installers on the island have also learned and are deploying hurricane-rated systems on customers' roofs.
Yeah. So anything can happen. Panels are obviously on the roof, so they are exposed to the elements. And
just like your impact-rated windows, they could break too.
They're
going to crack. Absolutely. They might be cracked if a coconut hits it, but
And Perla, again, these are what ifs. I mean, when was the last time that we had a hurricane that probably would have caused that degree of damage?
Put any bad luck on us, Sandra.
I know. Made my goat mouth. So true. But, if you think about on average, every maybe 15, 20 years, you might have that magnitude of a hurricane. That's still 15, 20 years worth of savings, Perla, that in that space you would have realized. So I think that a lot of us mentally
ensure the system is part of your house.
Yeah, exactly. That too. I mean, you have to include your house insurance. But, I think, Perla, that a lot of times we are psychologically like looking for excuses why we don't do something that's actually really, really beneficial to us. And so we look at the most minute things in terms of like, even Everton was saying, oh, what was there's another comment that Everton made. Panels go bad. They don't last forever. I think our solar system comes with a 25-year guarantee. I mean, your life doesn't have a 25-year guarantee on it. I'm just saying, we don't get that kind of warranty. Your marriages don't have that kind of warranty. Nothing has that kind of warranty. So you just have to find a good solar installation company that gets the best of what's available if you're willing to pay that, because some of y'all don't want to pay for the best. So you're willing to half-ass it on, what you pay to get it installed, and, you get what you get in terms of that. But I think like most things, there is insurance that's available. They do come with some degree of warranty from the company itself. There's actually on the system that we have from Entech, that was a company I should think of earlier. They do have like a monitoring capability in an app, a smart app, so that Marlon can see how the individual panels are actually performing and stuff like that. Because I think we've had one or two panels that, weren't performing and had to have something done to them. I can't remember if they were a replacement or something else. But yeah, there are systems and ways to even monitor the sort of efficacy of the actual panel, if it's working well and so on. So stop looking for excuses, folks. No, exactly. I mean, people.
The system does need to get inspected and monitor. The maintenance is usually clean individual, blocking the sunlight. But I think that's one thing that people need to realize is these systems, they're not install it and just receive benefits for 20 years. You do have to do a small amount of maintenance or hire somebody to do a small amount of maintenance, just like your air conditioning unit, right? And that's the same for large utility scale solar or small 5 kW on a customer's house.
Yeah. So Ms. Sue says that if she could afford it, she would get it. But with the high cost of living, it's not possible. And all the families having to deal with mortgage rates going up. And of course, again, Ms. Sue, this is why, I personally, this is my personal recommendation. When you're younger and you're obviously you're a senior citizen, so your situation's a little bit different. But remember when we were taking vacations and you go away to Miami and you could afford to drop $5,000-$10,000 on a family trip, a family vacation, that's $5,000-$10,000 over the space of a couple of years that you could have been putting on a solar system. And if you work it into an existing mortgage, it really doesn't add that much to the cost. I mean, obviously in the past year, mortgage rates have been fluctuating up, but it looks like they're going to be leveling off here shortly. So Jonathan is asking about a ceiling fan that runs 150 watts per hour. Does that sound about right?
150 watts is a pretty big ceiling fan, but possible. If it's full load, maybe, yeah.
Okay, so he says that if I'm paying 47 cents per kilowatt and I had that ceiling fan running for 24 hours, the ceiling fan alone would be $50 a month on my bill.
Do some quick math on that. Check.
Okay, Jonathan,
it's about 32 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah, so Jonathan, he'll come back to you. Miss Darlene,
closer to $35, Sandy. Yeah,
about $35.
Yeah, but I don't think people will leave a fan on full speed 24/7. At least they shouldn't. No. The fan.
You know what? I have fans that I don't even use.
Yeah.
And I only started using a fan in my daughter's room at night because one time you were on the program and you said that just circulating that airflow helps your actual AC unit.
Well, it
and it
makes
helps
the
you
room
feel
more
cooler.
comfortable. Yeah,
Yes.
the room's more comfortable if you have the AC. You can maybe bump the AC temperature up a degree or two and turn a fan on, which is exactly what I'm doing in this room that I'm sitting in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I got in and it's a bit warm, and I made a conscious decision. Okay, ceiling fan, not thermostat.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So Miss Darlene saying good morning to everyone. She is she did some clap emojis to, I think, Johan's comment. She's back in the UK. Barbara says, I would have called in, but that gentleman just said it all. Thanks, CUC.
Cheers, Barbara.
Sandra Miller says, come on, just travel to other islands, then beg CUC to do a donation from all customers for the great job that they're doing here. So again, she says, compare and contrast, and you would be surprised. I do think that it is interesting, again, when people don't travel and they don't have an experience to compare this to. They don't always appreciate, not traveling, like vacation traveling. Like sometimes you need to go live somewhere else for a minute. And then you really appreciate what it's like. There's certain things that we take for granted here for sure.
Yeah, we have a few folks that have joined our team from South Africa, and they're telling us stories of some of the. I mean, South Africa's a big country. They hosted the Olympics, right? And I want to say I think they hosted the World Cup as well at some point. Maybe big nation.
Yeah.
Very, very developed. They're having 8-hour outages daily, right? And because of I don't know the exact reason, but the utility is not performing as it should. Right. So, it really is the kind of thing that you don't want to get wrong, because that's what the consequence is.
So Alejandro says that he has a ceiling fan on 24/7. Why would you have a ceiling fan on 24/7, especially if you're not home 24/7?
Yeah, having the ceiling fan on when the room is not occupied, I don't think does much benefit to anybody. It certainly circulates the air, but I'm not sure there's any benefit there.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, hello.
Hi, morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning to CUC.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, I want to give some accolades to CUC first of all. I mean, if not the best in the world, they're the best in the Caribbean when it comes to distribution and having reliable current. Yeah, but at the same time, I got a great. I need answered that years ago. Great though, I just looking for an answer that I haven't gotten.
Okay.
Okay, every company that's here in Cayman Islands is insured, right? That if like Sandra, if your computer get mashed up, you're not charging people for the computer, right?
Well,
it can go back into something, yeah. But
listen,
you can fix it back away, but
yeah, I mean,
not directly.
This is business, so I might not tell you that as the consumer, like
right.
But it's worked in the numbers, equipment replacement, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, okay, I can help out with a garage, and when tools break, we don't charge the customer for the tools, even if it's a car that we're working on, the tools break on, right?
Yeah.
So,
do you not have that? Let me ask you a question before you go any further, right? As the business owner of a garage, do you not have that already factored in to your market margin for your services, like the replacement of equipment? Because in a garage, I mean, it depends on what kind of garage you have, obviously, but there's some pieces of equipment that could be thousands of dollars, diagnostic equipment and whatever, right? So you're telling me that you haven't figured out in your business plan, right, that if equipment fails over time, it needs to be replaced. It has a life cycle, so it might only be the average life cycle of that diagnostic equipment might be 5 years. In 5 years, you've got to replace it. Are you saying then that you don't have worked into your business model the cost of operating, which includes...
Okay, put it this way, Sandra.
Yeah.
Put it this way, Sandra. You may get something that says 10 years warranty and it lasts for 10 years, right? And you get 2 years out of it. Who ups that cost? You or the company or who? Stuff does happen. So everybody who's running a business must have that kind of ability to put everything into cost. But at the same time, what I'm saying, in 2004, when Ivan was here, my pet peeve is with CUC is that they had an Ivan recovery fund. Because when I check it up, it's about repairing generators and repairing stuff that happened to their company.
Right.
And that was for months. up to today, I've been checking for the Freedom of Information Act to say how much money they made in those couple of months from all the homes that they were charging. Up to now, nobody can say why they were charging that or how much they made off of that. Okay. So that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, let's see.
I can answer that, Sandra.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, it is something that our customers ask a lot about, and I'd be happy to talk about it. So, in the event of, well, let me step back. The first question was insuring assets. So CUC is not able to insure its poles and wires, not because we don't want to, but because there's no insurance company that would provide cost-effective insurance. We see rates in the order of 20 to 25% of the asset value to do that sort of thing. And it's because it's just that the insurance companies aren't interested in that business. And that's a global thing. That's not Grand Cayman. It's not the Caribbean. It's nowhere, right?
Right. So let me just pause you there for a second, Sasha, because I think maybe this is also an important point to make just based on what you said there. So there are some elements of doing business and operating for a utility company that is very unique and different. So we were talking about, he mentioned, he owns a garage. Every business can have very sort of like, this is specific to this type of business. So to break it down for a consumer, running an electricity company or electricity business is not quite the same as running a clothing store, a retail store, other types of businesses, right?
No, even the garage. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's just say that the mechanics are being paid $25 an hour. Most garages are charging anywhere between $80 and $120 an hour for that mechanic's time, right? And so that difference between the 25 and the 80 to 120 is what that company uses to run its business, to make money, and also to pay for broken tools, pay for rent, pay for other things, right? So it is and the thing is, you as a customer of that garage don't get to see that breakdown.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you. So you were saying. Oh
yeah, you're saying so it's not possible to get insurance for poles and wires. So and it's also not in a company where the margins are as thin as a utility company. It's not possible to absorb the cost of a catastrophic event like a hurricane. So what the government and CUC agreed was the most cost-effective way of dealing with that risk would be for CUC to take it, and when it does happen infrequently, then recover that over time from customers. And what it turned out was when we did that, I can't remember the exact numbers, but for the short period that we were charging that rate, it was effectively less than 1% of the asset value, which is cheaper than insurance, right? So we could go out and buy insurance and embed it in our rates at about 20% of asset value. Or in this way, for a short period of time, there's a surcharge of about 1%. And in the end result, while it is a very unpopular way of perhaps sticking it on the bill to quote your terminology, it is the lowest cost way of securing the assets. And I also would say that those assets that failed in Hurricane Ivan, the amount that was claimed through this was the book value of those assets. So say, I don't know, it was worth $100, but it depreciated down to 30. The surcharge got the 30, but CUC still spent the 100 to replace the asset.
Okay. All right, Carlos. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
It is a difficult thing, but it is really the lowest cost way of securing the assets and lowest cost for the customer as well.
Right. So let's talk now a little bit about, so this program is open. Obviously people, how do they contact? It was
sold out in 5 hours.
Wait a minute. This was the one that sold out?
Yes.
Oh.
Opened on the 1st, closed on the 1st. So that's really indicative. It's really exciting to see that much engagement.
I thought that was the previous one.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's super
do you have a waiting list? Like if someone is like building their house now and they're thinking about Is there like a waiting list that they can
waiting
get put on?
list, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I think the program is going to change, so we want people to see what that change is before they sign up. Make sure they're signing up for what they really want. And so what we've committed to do is that within the next 3 months is to release additional program. It's probably going to be larger than this one that just went. But I suspect that this one that just went out is going to keep people busy for more than 3 months. And we'll have another one open by the middle of the year.
Okay. So recently, CUC made an announcement that I think it was at some point last year, you guys were entitled to a rate increase, and you actually deferred that rate increase. Now that has come into play. So explain to us a little bit about how this works, right? Obviously, you've got a contract with the Cayman Islands government, and you're entitled to rate increases how often?
Annually.
On an annual basis. Do you take them?
Sorry, annually it's reviewed, and it's dependent on inflation. So if there's no inflation, there's no rate increase. So we've had a couple of years where that was the case.
Okay. And so it's reviewed by off-reg?
Yeah, and it's a simple calculation. There's no negotiation. This is the CPI. This is CUC's current returns. This is the formula. It goes up as a percentage of CPI. So I think presently we're at about 80% of the CPI. So we don't go up at the same amount. And it's not a straight CPI. It's CPI with fuel and food removed. So it's a little bit of a complex blend, but the thought was if we pull fuel out, I guess people aren't getting that fuel increase twice.
Right. Okay. So it's reviewed on an annual basis. Off-reg decides the amount of the increase and whether or not
CBC performs a simple calculation, submits it to off-reg for approval, and they either agree or disagree.
Right. Okay.
But it's hard.
Last year you were entitled to one. Obviously, last year we saw double-digit inflation across everything.
Right.
Food, fuel, like all sectors. But because of the economic situation coming out of COVID, and with interest rates kind of where they were, and all consumers are really under the gun a little bit in terms of the inflation, you guys actually decided to defer that
this year. Yes.
Have you guys ever deferred
yeah, we did actually. We did it once before. We did it this last year, and then we did it, I want to say the year prior as well. Or maybe it was 2 years prior. I can't remember exactly, but it was really one of the things. It's unfortunate because it's done at the timing of when the inflation data becomes available, which unfortunately ends up being the middle of the year when when usage is highest, and so consumers' costs are highest. So it's a difficult time to implement a rate increase when people are feeling it the most. So because of the size of the increase, if it was just if we have a 1 or 2% increase, which is somewhat more typical, that in terms of dollars per month is minimal to the average household. It's in the order of $1 or $2 a month. But when we're in the 5 and 6% range, like we have been with the high inflation, it's a difficult situation for some families. And so, we proposed to off-reg to defer that increase to January, when cost, not the price of electricity, but the usage of electricity is less and people's bills are lower, and it's perhaps a little bit more easy to manage.
All right. And for the average consumer, what dollar amount are we talking about for that increase?
Oh, I should have done a little bit more homework. It was a 5.4% increase for the average customer. That is in the range of, I want to say $5 or $6. I can't remember exactly, but the average customer uses just a little bit over 1,000 kilowatt hours. So it would be in the order of $5 or $6 a month for that customer.
Okay. All right, folks, we got some more questions and comments here. So John LaRue says solar is great from a green perspective, but due to the high cost of insulation, ours was close to $60,000 and zero government incentives. The payback is just way too long before and therefore we scrapped it.
There is actually a government incentive, but it's not really apparent to the solar owner but solar systems are duty free. So whoever John would have bought his solar from would have got their panels in duty free, so at lower cost than it would have been had government not made that move.
Right. So theoretically, maybe the cost really of that installation was $100K, John, or 80 or whatever. Yeah. And so, because again, you're not getting that line item breakdown like CUC gives you. You don't actually see the savings.
Yeah, maybe the solar installers can do a duty rebate line item in their quotes.
Yeah. Jonathan says that your cell phone charger, if you have that plugged in 24 hours a day, that will put about $5 per month on your bill per charger in the wall.
I don't know if it's $5, but it does use electricity when it's plugged in.
I don't think it's.
They call them wall warts. It's a little transformer thingy.
Yeah.
And yes, they do use electricity, even though your phone's not plugged in, or your laptop, or your flat screen TV, whatever it is.
Right. We actually have Marlon went around and installed these individual plugs into outlets that will let him know the usage for that particular device.
Yeah.
And so he was monitoring a couple of things, and he came back and said to me that the biggest user for me was actually this studio computer, because it never gets turned off. It's always on, and there's like a board connected to it and other stuff. And I was like, really?
Yep.
And he's like, yes.
Sounds like you have a nice computer, Sandra.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you know what else uses a lot of electricity that I think many parents aren't aware of? Gaming computers with graphics cards.
Yep.
Those
and that's what this is.
Are energy hogs.
Yeah.
And I see it. My kids are gamers from time to time, and I can see when I monitor energy usage when they're home.
Yep.
The energy usage is obvious, and it's not because the air conditioners changed or anything like that. It's because the gaming PCs are blazing away.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what this is, right? You've got these high-end graphic cards.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the cost of doing business, and I pass that cost on. So
it's embedded in your rate. You probably don't break it out.
Yeah, definitely not.
Graphics card energy cost.
Exactly. All right, so let's just see a few more questions. So somebody made a comment about making people, I think it was Alejandro, people need to be held responsible for licking down those CUC poles. I know very few that will hate me for saying something like it, but how much does it cost to put back a light pole? So it's, I don't know the cost. Every single instance is different. It depends, and it depends if it's concrete pole or wooden pole. The concrete poles are ridiculously expensive. I recall when we installed them, I want to say almost 20 years ago now, when we first started installing them, the cost to install was over $35,000 a structure. Just because you got to get a crane in to lift it, you got to get a crane to lift it off the port, then you got to truck it, then you got to lift it off the truck, then you got to lift it into the hole, and then it's just a big job to do those things. But a wooden pole is much less, but also not as strong. So it really depends. But usually what we do is we work with the insurance companies and claim and work with them on costs. Usually the car is still there for us to get a license plate off of it, and we can do that when the time's right. All right, folks. So just a few more minutes with the Vice President of Customer Service, Sasha Tibbetts from CUC, has been in the studio with us this morning. So if you have any burning questions for him, 936-2626 is the telephone number, and we're going to start to wrap things up a little bit here. So Perla is asking about an emergency kit for consumers if there's a natural disaster. Is there such a thing?
No, there isn't. I think the simplest form of emergency is sort of a little standby generator, not necessarily a permanently installed one, but people buy sort of construction type generators. But the key is that if you do get that, do not run it inside your house. Do not run it inside your garage. Place it outside and run extension cords. Do not tie it into your panel without an electrician who will disconnect it from the grid. But you can get some backup power that way. we are looking into ways that we can assist customers with getting access to solar and storage for that purpose, and also to use the solar to supplement their usage. And we're developing programs to do that, particularly to help customers who can't afford the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 for their systems, where CUC perhaps can purchase it for them and just find a way of either having them pay it back, or maybe just buy the solar power from them.
Mm-hmm. All right, caller, quick question or comment?
Yeah, I have a question. Mm-hmm. So not to stray away from the subject, right? I want to ask, is it any studies have been done for hydroelectricity in Cayman Islands?
Yes. Yeah, so hydro typically requires a river or just an elevation change, and without mountains to create that natural water flow, Grand Cayman, even Cayman Brac that has the bluff, it's not high enough, and the water just tends to just run through the rock. So hydro typically involves a significant river and a dam and a lake, none of which are really flowing in our country, unfortunately.
And is that the same thing as I see Dave here asking about windmills? Is that the same?
No, wind power would work financially here. It's actually similar in cost to solar. Depending on how it's done, it can actually be a little bit lower at times. The challenge is where are we going to put the wind towers? So there's exclusion zones for developing wind turbines, or not wind turbines, but any structure of that height. Around, I think it's 10 miles from the runway. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Doppler weather radar in East End, which wind turbines would cause interference on the image. So we sort of don't have a lot of space. I suppose the north coast from where Frank's Old Man Bay to Rum Point is possible. But that's not a huge area, and it's pretty high value land as well. So there's some challenges. The north coast from East End all the way to Rum Point would work technically. I guess we as a country need to decide whether we want to have a 400-foot tall wind turbine every half mile along that coast. That's a subjective question, and I'm not sure.
I can hear the cave people already complaining about it.
Yeah.
Remember, folks, CAVE stands for Caymanians Against Virtually Everything. All right. John says, affordable solar green tech do not pass on savings to the consumer. On this island, with all of our sun, we should all be solar, but CUC and government are in the business of making money, so it's not affordable. Well, I don't know if government's in the business of making money.
That's the sentiment that a lot of people share, that CUC and the government against solar. And I can't really say there's anything further from the truth. I think what you see CUC fighting for, and I think the government as well, is solar that is not high cost. The rooftop folks tend to think that's us against them, but we also think that rooftop doesn't need to be high cost. There are ways of doing it that are affordable, that don't impact energy costs in a negative way. And we're keen on developing programs to capture that benefit.
Very good. All right. One final call for the day before Sasha has to get to work and do some other things. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sasha, you have any research on what the impact to birds are in relation to wind turbines?
Yeah, not fresh research. I do know there is some impact, and that is certainly something that would have to be considered. And would be one of the first stops that we would have on our environmental impact assessment if we were to even have a project considered. I can tell you that CUC is not actively pursuing it because of the permitting challenges. So I don't have any fresh data on that, but the wind industry has grappled with this in a very significant way over the last several decades. So I'm pretty sure that there is good information about it. If we ever come to having to grapple with that opportunity or challenge, as the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
What about
yes, Denny?
What about putting something 400 feet up in the air and dealing with Ivan's ex-wife?
Yeah, they can be designed to withstand it. You know, it's just cost to make it strong enough to do so, but that's certainly something that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you, Denny. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, 2 final comments, and then we really have to let Sasha go. So one person says, I've been hearing about all these great benefits given to Caymanian employees, and I see the support they give in the general community. I will always support CUC, and the majority of their employees are Caymanians. Do we have any numbers, Sasha, and how percentage-wise, how many of your employees?
250 employees, a little bit more than 250, and 85% Caymanian. It's not exactly 85, but it's that order of magnitude. It changed. You know, we have people coming and going each week, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's about that order of magnitude. It used to be higher, but we've gone through a period of, particularly with this whole transition, a need to transition into more renewables. We've had to bring in some expertise while also developing it in-house. And we've had to bring in a higher number of technical expertise employees, because there weren't Caymanians on island available to that. But we are working to develop them. It's a type of expertise that you don't gain in 2-3 months. It's a decade type of level of expertise that we're looking for.
Right. One final question. Why is Sasha working for CUC and not making movies?
Because I'm a terrible actor and I usually say things I shouldn't.
So of course I had to ask this person, making movies, ? They says, yes, he looks like an actor.
Oh gosh. All right. Now I'm going to turn pink on camera.
Yeah. There you go, Sasha. There you go.
Yeah, no.
All right. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate you always being willing to come on the program, talk about, we've got to make it more frequent. Your visits here, talk about what's going on in the world of electricity here in the Cayman Islands, what CUC is doing. Next time, perhaps we can do a deep dive into what you guys are doing on the renewable side, which you say that you're focused and committed to.
Yeah, and maybe some EV work as well, electric vehicles.
Oh, yes, because I want to talk about all those free ones that you have around the place. Wonderful. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Sasha. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Have a great day. Thank you for having me.
All righty.
Renewables are very important to CUC. The environment's going to benefit. The customers are going to benefit.
It is the future. It's not a matter of if it's coming, it's when.
We can't stop. We do need the change.
Really, really excited to talk about how we're going to get a lot of renewable energy on the grid.
We have been working on bringing renewable energy to Grand Cayman for many years now and produced our integrated resource plan back in 2016.
Looking at how we can most effectively not only get renewable energy, but reduce the CO2 impact of CUC's operations. You hear the comments or the misnomers that CUC is married to diesel, and quite frankly, that there couldn't be anything that's further from the truth. We know that renewable energy is the right thing to do.
There's a lot of value by using renewable energy, battery energy storage within your integrated grid. A lot of time has to be put together to do your research, understand what it is that you're wanting to put out there.
CUC has the ability to lead that transition, right? And be the first for not only Cayman, but the region.
It's going to be so worth it. It's what I come to work for every single day. To know what we're working on is going to set the country up for success. It's going to be a foundational element of the economy.
Bringing the public along with us is one of the key things to make a success out of it.
To make sure that we're doing our part to reach those United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Our team has been equipped, trained, developed if we get a go-ahead tomorrow, we start.
And I see it in the future. It's not that far away. It could be as little as 5 or 6 years away, where we'll have times of the day where we are 100% renewable.
All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of the Cold Hard Truth. We have a little bit less than an hour left in the program. And of course, I mean, it would not be an episode of the Cold Hard Truth if we're not here trying to help people. There's scammers left, right, and center and all over the place. What can I tell you? It's so sad that people are being taken advantage of. So we have a young man who is joining us this morning who's going to be sharing his story from Jamaica about how he was taken advantage of. And now he's out of pocket, for his hard-earned money. So, Jael, good morning. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Good morning. Nice having me. I'm fine.
Yeah, so good to see you and to hear from you. So tell us a little bit about why you've reached out to us and what's going on.
Firstly, I was asked to drop in a permit by Levy Powell, and he was demand 360 of the permit and permit to be granted, and then he told me 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, he will send me the confirmation of the permit granted, and then
Just speak up a little bit for me. Your voice is a little bit low. So give me the name of this person that you say was putting in a permit for you.
his name is Levy Powell.
Levy Powell. Okay.
Yeah, supposed to be grant a permit for me, and he told me 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, he will send me the confirmation, and from there.
So how did you come to meet this Levy Powell? How do you know him?
Yes, it's my auntie. It's my auntie put me onto him. Yeah, because she have a daughter in Cayman, which is Nicole Bailey. So for to get a permit, and I sent her the 360, which and from there
Well, what kind of permit was he taking out for you? What sort of job?
it's not a work permit. He said when I came on he only can take me up on the island. So when I came on the island, I can look at work, because he was going to take me up on his business license, something like that.
But the only kind of permit he could put you on to bring you here would be a work permit.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So he tells you he's going to take out a work permit for you. You send him, how much money did you send?
360 CI.
360 or 260?
360 CI.
360 CI.
Yes.
Okay. And then you send him that cash. How do you send the money?
Yes, I send the money to my cousin, which is my auntie daughter, Nicole Bailey, and she give him.
All right. So you send him the money. When was the money sent?
October the 14th.
October of last year.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you send the money. Then what happens? October, November, December. How long did he tell you how long it would take to get the permit submitted and approved?
Yes. So when I sent her the money on October the 14th, she gave him the money on October the 17th, which is a Monday, and he says he's going to grant the permit for me, which is gonna take 2 weeks for him to send me the confirmation, and from there no confirmation. We keep on going, and what happened, they excuse, and then I request back for the money. He says he's going to send me back the money, which was December the 23rd. And from there, I did a year back from him.
So you've been waiting all this time now to hear back from him in terms of the work permit and nothing. And you've asked him at this point for a refund of your money?
Yes.
And what has he said to you in terms of the refund?
He said he's going to refund the money on December the 3rd. I call him, no answer. I call him, no answer. My auntie tried to reach to him. My cousin tried to reach him, no answer.
Mm-hmm. So you're here now trying to see if you can get, remind me, just tell me his name again.
Levy Powell.
Levy Powell, to see if you can get Levy Powell to refund your money.
Yes, definitely.
And you reached out to the authorities as well. So you reached out to the police and asked them to assist you. What is their position? What is it that they're saying?
Yes, my cousin, which is Nicole Bailey, she reached out to a policeman, which his name is Bobby, and he said to the matter, he for the workplace, he could get to him, and up to now that case is unsuccessful.
Did you do any background checks on Mr. Levy Powell before you sent him your money? Like, did you inquire from any independent sources about who this man was and what he was up to?
No, actually, I didn't, because it's my auntie which put me onto him. So they at first they told me that he get on the island before. So
So he's done this before. What kind of business is it that he actually operates?
I'm not sure. He didn't tell me, but he tell me that he just get people on the island. He only can get people on the island.
So I mean, I'm confused when he says he can only get people on the island. That means that he doesn't actually have any work for you.
No, I will be the one that would go and seek a work. But he only island.
Right. And I'm supposing that you actually don't know that that's illegal in the Cayman Islands, right? Like the person who takes out your work permit is supposed to be legitimately the person who has employment for you. So they're not supposed to just get you on the island. They're supposed to get you here with work, because what ends up happening is you come here, and if you can't find work on your own, then what are you going to do? It's not as easy as people think to find work in the Cayman Islands anymore, right? So this is a bit of a sticky situation. And I think that a lot of people don't necessarily know this, but they say that ignorance is no excuse for not adhering to the law. So this is one of those things that we need to spread this word far and wide, that you cannot come to the Cayman Islands on a work permit for a company that doesn't actually have any work for you. They're not supposed to be doing it, and you as the worker have to know that that's also not something that you should be doing. If they're taking out your work permit, that process means that they have legitimate work, legal and legitimate work for you to be doing, and not just getting you on island and then leaving it up to you to find your own way, so to speak. So was he charging you any extra for the work permit? Because the other thing is you're also not supposed to pay for your own work permit. So the $360 that you sent, was that the total amount that you were going to be sending him?
Yes, the $360 was for grant the permit, and other $360, which I would, after the permit grant, I would send him like $75, and when I get on the island, I send him the rest.
Yeah. So he was charging you basically like an additional fee for, I guess, what he thinks is doing a favor for you.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. We've spoken to Mr. Levy before. One of the reasons why I was asking you if you ever did any research on Mr. Levy, because here he is. He was actually on Cayman Mall Road before. for someone who was involved in some illegal activity. So the last time we talked about him, remind me, what's his first name again?
Levy.
Levy, what's the full name?
Powell. Levy Powell.
Levy Powell, right. So this gentleman showed up a couple times in our searches, and apparently he was involved in some thefts. I mean, I think it was a home burglary actually that he was involved in. So, you know, this is why you gotta probably not take everyone at face value and try to figure out who these people are and what they have been up to. So he's been in trouble with the law before.
Yes, definitely.
I'm trying to just find this article with Mr. Levy. So he claims that he's going to pay you back the money. You've been waiting, and obviously no money as yet. What you know, you're here today hoping that maybe Mr. Levy is listening to this program and he's actually going to step up and do the right thing and actually just get you your money.
Actually, it seems to be that he have no intention to give me back the money because it took him so long. He keep on go around until I can't hear from him. So he have no intent.
You find that he just doesn't want to give you your money back?
Yes.
Wow. And have the police made any progress? Like, what is it that they're saying?
Actually, as I said to you that the case is unsuccessful, and I would have to get back to my my cousin Cole and because she said if the case with Bobby wasn't a success, she is going to the police station itself. So I would like that to happen. So there's something can be done.
Such a sad situation, really. All right, shall we try calling him to see if we can maybe reach him on the phone? I was just trying to find the story again that we had up on him. I just saw it a second ago and already it disappeared from my screen. But let's see if we can get a hold of Mr. Levy and see what his story is. So let me just see here. I think you had sent his number before. And of course, he's now not answering your phone call. He blocks your number and stuff as well. So we actually do have a recording here. I'll play this recording. It says Levy Powell, again, saying that he's gonna pay the money back, but of course, you know, it just hasn't happened. So you're questioning his lack of goodwill and just basically sticking to his word, because it does not appear that he's going to be doing that at all. So let me just see here. So you can tell us a little bit about what this is.
Yeah, wait for another. You understand me? And from what they are, when the bag of sitting come down, they all have to end up retract and send it back in again. Alright, no immigration are going one bag of fucker, one bag of loose ball game are going to immigration. You understand me? But just go and hold it, hombre. You're gonna get your seat, you're gonna reach out, hombre. You done give me your money already. You done give me your documents already. You go get sorted out.
So that was Levy speaking just there in that message. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you hear me? Uh-oh, I can't. For some reason, I can't hear you. Oh, I don't know what happened to your audio, but we're not able to hear you. So I think that's Levy. Just check your audio for me and see. I'm not sure what might have happened to the audio there. But so essentially that's him blaming. It sounds like he's blaming immigration. I think I need to listen to it again because I'm trying to understand all the elements of what he said. But it sounded like let's listen again. It sounded like he was
wait for another. You understand me? And from what they are, when the bag of sitting come down, they all have to end up retract and send it back in again. Alright, no immigration are going one bag of fuckery, one bag of loose ball game are going to immigration. You understand me? But just go and hold it, hombre. You gotta get your seat, you gotta reach out, hombre. You done give me your money already? You done give me your documents them already? You gotta get sorted out.
All right, so that's him saying, blaming immigration from what I can hear, and saying that immigration is the problem, and that you've already submitted your money, you've already submitted your documents, so you are going to you're going to get it. You must just relax. When was that message sent? For some reason, Jo, we can't hear you. I'm not so sure what happened to your audio there. Try coming out. Hello? Do me a favor, disconnect and come back in again, because something has happened to your audio. So I'm just going to pull you out and then log back in again. Something has happened to his audio. But yeah, I mean, we hear it there in the man's voice where he's claiming that he's going to pay the money back. And that, well, not pay the money back. My apologies. He's telling the guy to relax. Immigration going out one bag of whatever. Must just relax yourself, and it'll get done. So sad. Let me see some of your comments this morning. Let me see. Sandra, morning. Oh, I think that's something else. We were talking about CUC. All right, let's try Jo again. Good morning. Hello, sir.
Yes, you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. So I was just reading through some. I was just reading through some of the comments. So CC says, so Jamila Williams, I wonder when someone going to call out that scammer there with all the businesses. I don't know if she's talking about the same guy. Magdalene says that's why some of these people can't prosper. They're robbing their own people. So sad. Be interesting to see if this person in Cayman is working with someone inside. Jonathan says he wants to clarify the person's no family to him, no relation. Wayne says, scammer them there. So Perla is asking what kind of business he runs. Did he ever tell you what the name of his company is?
No, actually, no.
He never told you that. Okay. I'm surprised that he can even get a business license, to be honest. I mean, I guess we're not requiring business licenses for.
No.
We're not requiring police clearances.
Because my cousin told me.
Yeah, sorry, your cousin told you. You were breaking up a little bit there. So let me say this. He was charged back in 2018 in relation to Patrick's Avenue burglary. Some of the objects taken included jewelry from a townhouse on December the 13th. He burglarized the house and then recruited Terry, some lady named Toria Terry, to assist him with pawning the goods at a local consignment store, Cashwa's. And Terry claimed that she had no knowledge that the goods were stolen,
yes,
but was helping a friend. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, sir. I think the connection is a little bit spotty. Can you hear me?
Yes, because he told me that the permit was put because of.
Yeah, the internet connection sounds a little bit like it's going in and out. So we can't quite make out that last bit actually that you were saying. But this guy was involved in the burglary of a home, and he actually pleaded guilty in grand court back in September of 2019. So this is a man who pleaded guilty to burglaring a house and stealing goods valued at over $8,500 US. So I would say this person is not an honest person. And, this is where you have to be on the lookout for individuals like him. I'm guessing you were not aware of his past criminal history. Uh-oh. I think, hello? I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call you on the WhatsApp because the connection is a little bit spotty right now. So let me, I'm gonna disconnect you and just call you in the WhatsApp because I think we'll have a better connection. So give me 1 second here, folks. Yeah, people need to be aware of what these scammers are doing.
Yes, hello.
Yes, sir. Sorry, the connection was really poor, so I thought it might be a better quality just to go ahead and call you. So you were just saying something, but we couldn't quite make it out. I was asking you if you knew the type of business that he was in, and you said no.
No, I didn't, because my auntie told me that she know him very well and that he get people on the island before.
Mhm.
So I thought it was a legitimate business.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not saying that he mightn't have a business license. What I'm saying is, I mean, he might even have a legitimate business. I don't really know. But what I'm saying is, if someone is hiring you or they're taking out a work permit for you, that means that they're supposed to have work for you. So back in September of 2019, this guy actually pleaded guilty to burglarizing a house at value of over 8,500 US dollars, stealing a watch and diamond earrings. And they had initially claimed that, that she didn't do it. But both him and his accomplice, who had initially denied any knowledge that the goods were stolen, ended up confessing that, they did it. So they avoided a trial. So I don't know how long he went to jail for, but this guy doesn't really seem like he's on the up and up. But of course, you didn't know anything about any of that because you're taking your cousin's word for it that he's a good guy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, he got community service in November of 2019, if you can believe that. What a mess. Well, he's scamming people now. I mean, the problem is, unfortunately, did he ever show you any proof that he submitted your work permit to immigration?
No, exactly not. That is why my cousin called immigration and if there was a submit of the permit, and they say no. That is why we find out that something was spooky and request back the money.
So he actually never even submitted the work permit.
No, and he keep on saying that he submit the work permit and it's gonna take 2 weeks, and I give him 2 weeks. I even give him till the month. We give him till 4 weeks, and then he can't show me any proof or anything. So I request the money back.
Wow. Let's see if we can give him a call this morning. I'm trying to find his number. Let me just see if I can find it now. Mr. And of course, he wasn't answering one phone, but I think he might have been answering another phone. But let's try giving him a call while we have you in the line to see if he's going to answer the phone this morning. And you just want your $360 back. That's the bottom line.
Yes, definitely. Also, my documents, because he's told me that he's granted the permit and there is no submit of that. So I don't want my identity out there, which is not.
Call cannot be completed at this time. Please try.
All right. So the phone, I think the last time we've called this guy before, and I think the last time what we discovered is that sorry, his phone is disconnected for non-payment apparently. But he can still get WhatsApp calls. So let me see if I can get him on the WhatsApp. So you also want your documents back?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so he's not answering that. Do you have a contact number for the officer that you were dealing with, the police officer?
I would have to ask Nicole. Have to ask.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if anybody at the you know what? Let's see if I mean there's a bigger question here. That really needs to be answered, which is where do people get help from? Because the problem is, I understand that immigration is going to say that they can't help you if the permit hasn't been submitted. And of course, unfortunately, the position then is, you know, what is this? This is theft, as far as I'm concerned. This man has stolen your money. And so you're entitled to get your money back.
Yes.
And so the police should be assisting you.
Yes, exactly. That's what I want, because so far there is no assistance.
Mm-hmm. All right, give me 1 second. Let's see what we can do here. We're going to see if we can call Mr. Manderson, 52. One person is asking who is responsible for immigration and border protection. Is it CBC, RCIPS, or WORC? Neither agency references immigration control enforcement on their website. Since the Cayman Islands doesn't have a national security director, does it fall under the deputy governor or minister of border control? So it's a good question.
Hello.
Hi. Good morning, France.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
This is Sandra. You're on air.
Hold on. I'm just stepping in. I'm at a retreat. Just 1 minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Go ahead.
All right. Quick question for you. So we have a gentleman
Sure.
who's on the line now, and he's telling us his story about how he sent this guy, Levy Powell, money for work permit. He never submitted the work permit. Now he's out $360. He's contacted the police. They don't seem to be able to assist him in any way. What is the advice? I've obviously told him that, you know, he has done things here that legally is not correct either. But of course, you know, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. But what can he do at this point now to try to get his money back for someone who claimed that he was going to take out a work permit for him to get him in Cayman, and then he'd have to go out there and look work. What are his options if the police are not willing to help him?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think there is a possibly an offense of obtaining property by deception. If you tell someone, if you give me money, I'm going to do something, and you never do it, and you have no intention of doing it, then that can constitute a crime under the penal code.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry to hear that he is not getting the help from the police. I'm sure if we escalate it, we can make sure that he is contacted and a statement is taken, because I do believe this is a crime that we are now seeing to be prevalent, and it's something that we need to have a zero tolerance for. But also, I guess we need to do some education as well, because there's so many people out there that seem to be just jumping on every ad or every every hope that they have of securing employment here. So I think we need to do a bit more public relations campaign. I know that the ministry where I am right now has been doing some work, sending out memos and press releases to people saying, please don't jump at every ad that you see that is claiming to be offering work in the Cayman Islands. Not all of those things are legitimate.
Yes. And to be clear, if someone is taking out your work permit, that means that they have work for you. That's what it's supposed to mean.
Absolutely. And it is illegal for you to pay for your work permit. It is illegal for the employer to deduct money from your salary to pay for your work permit. All of those things are very clear offenses in the immigration transition law. So we have, as you know, Sandra, I spent a lot of time at immigration, and I was very familiar with these offenses, and we have, put a lot of time and effort in upgrading our immigration laws to make sure that we can combat this type of abuse, because, we have seen it where employees are sometimes having to not pay their employer. So we have cases where I'm going to take out your work permit. I am going to require you to pay for the work permit. I'm not going to get your health insurance. I'm not going to get in the pension. And by the way, you need to go out, find work, and then give me money every week. So, I mean, that type of thing is absolutely a disgrace, and it should not be happening in our island. And we should be having a zero tolerance towards it.
Absolutely. And I think that if maybe you could speak to the commissioner, because there seems to be a situation happening here that when people do reach out to the police are like, oh, this is a civil matter. And so they're not assisting. And I think, just like you, that this is actually obtaining property by deception.
Yes.
And they have all the
I would
evidence
certainly
to prove
do that.
it. They have the voice notes, they have the WhatsApp messages, all the correspondence is there. Now, someone had a question about who does this sort of thing fall under generally. So they say, who's responsible for immigration and border protection? Is it CBC, RCIP, or WORC? Neither agency references immigration or border control enforcement on their website.
Yeah. So this anything to do with work permits falls on the work permit opportunities came out. So that anything to do with work permits fall under that department. The things happening on the border, persons coming in, overstaying, working illegally, those things are for CBC, which then team up with work and do operations to deal with persons working illegally, persons overstaying, those things. So both of those departments work very closely together and have conducted a number of operations together to deal with some of the things that you have highlighted on your show from time to time.
Yeah, it continues to obviously be a real area of concern. But we know you just mentioned that you're at an event, so we thank you for taking the call, and hopefully this is something that can be moved up the agenda a little bit.
Yes, well, I will certainly have a conversation with the Commissioner of Police now around this particular matter and share my views on this as well. And like I said, I think it's a clear case of obtaining property by deception. A matter of fact, we have prosecuted people for this before.
Yes, right.
Yeah, during my time at immigration.
Yeah, it's definitely on the increase. I mean, it's
Yes.
almost every day or every other day, I'm getting a similar phone call, and I think part of the reason is that the economics of people migration, tough economic times mean that people believe that Cayman is the holy grail, and we have all sorts of work and stuff available here. Any indication, of how many work permits for this type of, because this is a work permit fraud, might actually be, I know we were talking about the highest number of work permits, but any indication of what percentage of these might actually be completely fraudulent, where people don't even have work?
I am not sure, but I can guarantee you that every day work refuses work permits based on no genuine need has been made out. They are seeing a lot of abuse. I'm getting emails from people saying, "Why did you refuse my work permit? What's going on?" So I know that the team at work is really trying to do their best to weed out this kind of situation. But I said this before, Susanna, and I leave you with this: the people that are creating this problem are employers, right? And the majority of employers are Caymanian. So this is something that we as a country need to own, stop blaming other people for, and own these kind of problems and say, I am, as a Caymanian, I'm not going to participate in this kind of abuse. So these are things that we can own ourselves, and the best way to do it, and you have said this repeatedly, is shine the light on the problem, which is, and I commend you for doing that.
Yeah. And can we maybe set up like, okay, this Levy Powell, well, he's a convict. I mean, I think he got a suspended sentence for burglarizing someone's house, stealing over $8,500 US worth of jewelry, and then pawning it. I don't even know how he gets a business license without a few questions being asked. But at the end of the day, if you have a complaint against someone like this, and the complainants are willing to give you evidence that this person has committed immigration fraud, is there not a way that he can be flagged? There has to be some sort of immigration,
absolutely,
like employees, like some employers just are not worthy of even getting work permits.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that is something that I know it is being worked on. Remember, I had spoke to some time ago about an accreditation system for immigration, where we can flag these employers who are abusing their employees, who are not taking on Caymanians, who are not training our people. We need to put a lot more emphasis on the employer rather than the employee, because right now we have a lot of information on employees. We know their medical status, their criminal history, their family status, but we don't keep a lot of records on employers. We know how many work permits you have. We know how many work permits you've been refused. But in terms of, are you training Caymanians? Are you promoting Caymanians? Do you have apprenticeship programs? All those things are not really captured as well as they should.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Deputy Governor, Mr. Fance Manderson. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So again, folks, the problem lies with the employer. And as he said, these employers are Caymanian. So for the record, Mr. Arlene says, Google everyone, please, before you try to do any business with them. But for the record, folks, this guy, Levy Powell, is a Caymanian, because we brought this up before. Everybody's like, who the hell is he? We want to believe that he's not a Caymanian, but honey child, he most certainly is. Ms. Darlene, my apologies. I think you're trying to call, but unfortunately, the gentleman is still on the WhatsApp call, so I can't take two WhatsApp calls at the same time. But if you call the other number, we can take your call. So let me just give you the Bobo 936-2626 is that telephone number. You can call that number, please. But yeah, well, sir, do you hear a little bit of what the deputy governor said? Number one, I share his opinion that the police need to do more. They need to charge this man. You've got all the evidence in the world that he has stolen your money. He's obtained property by deception. So the police need to pick it up. Now, he said he's going to have a conversation with the police commissioner to maybe instruct his officers that they need to stop telling people that this is just a civil matter or pushing it to the side. They need to really get on the ball.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
yeah, RD Limited says Caymanian is a very loose term deputy governor, and just because government prints off a piece of worthless paper that says Caymanian on it, that doesn't guarantee that the person gives a damn about Cayman facts. Well, RD, apparently this brother is a Caymanian. I mean, he was speaking like with a Jamaican accent in that audio, but the last time I brought this up on the show, I get confirmation and of exactly who he's family to, honey child. Yes, so somebody told me his people down in Newlands or something about. But anyway, he's definitely a Caymanian. So, you know, our people are creating problems and we're scamming other people. You know, something's got to be done here. There should be zero tolerance for this type of thing. I think somebody said last time he's from North. Is it North Sound Estates area? I can't remember now. But somewhere about the child. He's a Powell, unfortunately. For y'all Powells. He lives in Newlands. His people are originally from Jamaica. His dad and uncles went to school here. And this person said he's a real criminal. That was back in February because we brought this up on the show on February the 6th. So he lives in Newlands. He can't answer a straight line call because that's been disconnected for non-payment. So he probably took this gentleman's hard-earned money. And sir, you're in Jamaica. Are you working in Jamaica?
Well, currently not. I'm self-employed.
Okay. So you had to probably borrow this money in order to even be able to get this to Mr. Powell.
Yes, definitely half of the money.
Yeah. So I mean, this is so sad because this is really taking advantage of vulnerable people who don't have the resources to be able to do this. You know, this is, wow. I'm, you know, it's just really heartbreaking. So let's see what can be done, sir. The deputy governor said that he would have a word with the police. What I will do as well is I will email the police commissioner and let him know that you guys had made a complaint and you're still waiting for some real action from the RCAPS if they intend to act. And perhaps then that will kind of get the ball rolling as it relates to that part of it.
Yes, I appreciate it.
All right, my dear, you're most welcome. Have a good weekend.
Same to you. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. All right, folks. You know, poor guy just trying to get his money back. So sad. Wow. We need to really clamp down on this. I cannot tell you how bad this situation is going to get if we continue to allow it to happen. So Stacy says, employee, you can bring you an island, have you work for months. I think employer can bring you an island, have you work for months and don't pay you. Caymanian, she know herself. I hope works never give her back a permit. And of course, Stacy has been on the program before, talking about Ruth Anna. So, I mean, RD, you might want to believe that it's not Caymanians doing these sorts of things, but I think you would be surprised at which Caymanians are actually doing it. And these are the same Caymanians that then jump up and say they want to be political leaders in this country, that they want to run for public office, and they want to be ministers of this and that. These are the same people who want your vote in the next election. So you sit down there talking about they're not Caymanians. Huh. Like I said, let's be honest now. I cannot defend my own people when they're engaged in this kind of ridiculous behavior. And there's enough of them who are doing it. Now, some of them might be paper Caymanians, I'll give you that. But I dare say there's enough like multi-generational legit Caymanians. You can't get more Caymanian than Ruth Anna. Well, I suppose you could, because one of her parents not Caymanian, but you know what I mean. on the side that is a Caymanian, those are all the West Bay people, all the Ebankses from West Bay, Captain Marvin, the whole bunch of them. That's her mama. I mean, it's a long history. You know, her Caymanian lineage is well rooted. And then, you have her doing things like not paying people, taking out permit every other week. And this is the thing. I have to question, how is it, as Stacey said, that immigration continues to even grant her work permit? Like, you have to know that if somebody has to take out a work permit every couple months for domestic helper, something's up. Like, what is it? Like, you at least need to ask an explanation. And I think that WORC has an obligation to also ask the questions and maybe talk to the employees. We see that she's not renewing your work permit. What happened? And then when you hear that, oh, she wasn't paying my salary, she didn't pay my pension, she didn't pay my insurance, then those are not people that should be getting a work permit approved. Maria says this has been going on for years. They take advantage of the permit holder and they should be charged and given a prison sentence, and then it will stop. Yeah, I believe that we need to increase the penalties for this sort of thing. All right, folks, let's go ahead and start to wrap things up here a little bit. Hopefully that gentleman can have some forward movement on his situation. So we have a new commanding officer for the Cayman Islands Regiment. Did you guys see this story? His name is Colonel Roger Carter from Trinidad. He joined the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force back in 1989. And according to this statement from the governor's office, he's a highly experienced officer with significant humanitarian and disaster relief expertise. So in 2011, Colonel Carter was appointed Assistant Chief Staff Officer of Operations at the National Military Headquarters, where he was responsible for joint, interagency, and multinational operations and management of the interagency counterterrorism team. Wow, he got all kinds of conditions. He was defense and military attaché to Washington, D.C., with accreditations to Canada, and the head of delegation to the Inter-American Defense Board from 2018 to 2021. My apologies. Colonel Carter has a master's in science with distinction in national security and strategic studies from the University of the West Indies, and has been pursuing a PhD in criminology at the University of Trinidad and Tobago since 2017. And announcing the appointment, Governor Roper expressed his gratitude to Lieutenant Colonel Watson for setting up the regiment from scratch with UK training and assistance, and particularly, given the global pandemic. He noted that the regiment adds value to Cayman's humanitarian and disaster relief efforts, providing additional resilience to our emergency services in many ways, including clearing of roads, delivering first aid, desalination of seawater, and being able to feed hundreds of people using a self-sufficient solar-powered kitchen. So when does he start the job? Does it say? Oh, yes, he resumes the position, or he assumes the position, my apologies, in April. So next month. All right, sir. Try to finish that PhD before you come, though, because once you get here, you'll be so busy, you'll never get to it. All right, here's your news headlines from Kevin Watler. Big shout out to Kevin. He's going to be on island for the next week. So welcome back home, Kev.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. The public consultation period for the draft Sexual Harassment Bill 2023 is now underway. Premier Panton made the announcement at a celebratory luncheon hosted by the Business and Professional Women's Club on Wednesday. Police say it received 3 separate reports of sexual harassment that occurred last month in Georgetown that appear to be linked. The incidents occurred in the vicinity of Dr. Royce Drive and Grackle Road around 7 in the evening when the 3 women were walking home from work. The Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control has announced the reopening of their visa office in Kingston, Jamaica. The office closed to the public in March 2020 due to COVID-19 and converted to a virtual operation by serving the public's queries and questions. Colonel Roger Carter has been appointed to succeed Lieutenant Colonel Simon Watson as the commanding officer of the Cayman Islands Regiment. He will assume the position in April. Diamond Properties had an exciting week with the official rebranding of the real estate company to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Cayman Islands, a global real estate brokerage franchise network. The organization also officially announced that Anthony Lawson has joined as a broker-owner of the real estate firm. Now for your CMR weather update. It's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:43. Partly cloudy skies are expected. When the temperature is at 84 degrees Fahrenheit and the humidity at 65% like the forecast calls for, it will feel like it's in the high 80s. Wind southeast at 20 to 30 miles per hour and the sun sets at 6:31. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the mid-70s. Looking forward, the gusty winds will go away for the weekend. Otherwise, similar weather conditions are expected. If you would like to know more on any of these stories, visit CaymanMallRoad.com or follow Cayman Mall Road on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Let's go.
Honey, you remember to bring your lunch, right?
Oh, come on. You know I wouldn't.
Seriously?
Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Popeyes to the rescue again.
Mommy, I prefer this to your chicken anyway.
Oh, no, you didn't.
K-Man doesn't just like that chicken. We love that chicken from Popeyes.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In just 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
Whopping news! Burger King Cayman is turning 40 years.
Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.